Hey bitches, it's a guy, a car, and a podcast.
It's a guy, a car, and a podcast.
It's a guy, a car, and a podcast.
It's a guy, car, and a podcast.
Buckle up.
Buckle the fuck up.
Buckle up.
Better fucking buckle up.
There we go. Okay.
That's a good start.
I'm gonna start on the A. Here we go. I text the postcard sent to you. Did it go through? Sending all my love to you. You are the light of my life. Every night, sending all my love to you. My beating heart belongs to you. I walked for miles till I found you. I'm here to honor you. If I lose everything in the fire, I'm sending all my love to you. She's a punk rock beauty queen, an atomic bomb of total stunning, vaporizing your mind before you see it coming. And she just flicks off the ash. She's a classic movie screen, forever burned in your memory. Her skin is like a documentary. She'll kill you with a smile, smoking hot and red and black. I wonder what caliber she packs. She's pretty mean with a bat. Her kiss is a heart attack, 'cause she's looking out of sight. That's when she'll put out your lights. A sex bomb wrapped up in tights. How can wrong look so right? Who else can rock so much white? And then vanish into the night. She will scratch and she will bite. Who else can kick your ass tonight? She's a brilliant catastrophe, born and looking for her Mr. J, trying to coax him out to play with bombs and a gun in her hand. She's a spitfire Barbie doll, not suitable for children at all. The kind of girl who makes you hold a bomb while she's just running away. Smoking hot and red and black. I wonder what caliber she packs. looking out of sight. That's when she'll put out your lights. A sex bomb wrapped up in tights. How can wrong look so right? Who else can rock so much white and still vanish into the night? She will scratch and she will bite. She'll straight kick your ass in a fight. She'll knock out your lights. Wrapped up in tights. Oh, I missed that Harley Quinn. So this song's called Love Homicide. A cold night sleeping alone in my car. I was pushed just a little too far. As the windows breeze over, I start to wonder, will my heart survive through this thunder? Watching the eyes like the scars of my heart, connecting the dots of my life torn apart. Empty promises left frozen in time. Memories that were never meant to be mine. I've got no faith. There is no hope. I throw in the towel. I've got lots more rope. This is the end. My last goodbye. Another sad case of love homicide. Don't make jokes while you're here. This song's about your sister, by the way. Today is gone, it's part of yesterday. Tomorrow won't be better anyway. No matter how hard I tried to fight, there was nothing I could do to make it right. A two-way street became a one-way road. A big gun to corrode. Tomorrow was promised to be better than fate. Yet here I am alone, and it's you that I hate. I got my faith. I found my hope. I bought more towels. I've got lots more rope. This is the end. My last goodbye. Another sad case of love homicide. You're just a sad case of love homicide. You're just a sad case. Curious deliverance and balance soothing anarchists and ones who write to punk archists and kinda left the slit the wrist on the edge of sanity, borderline personality. This is my serenity. Won't you come and play with me? Laughing out loud in spite of sadness. Appearing sane despite my madness. I don't need you to understand. Put away your helping hand. Just lead me to my wonderland. Back in the ambience of overwhelming confidence, and like a coincidence. Come and follow, feel a smile. Let a single crooked thousand cleaning parcels are hostile. Won't you come and stay a while? Laughing out loud in spite of sadness. Appearing sane despite my madness. I don't want you to understand. Put away your helping hand. Just lead me to my wonderland. Been a while since I've been fun. What is real and what's pretend? Will this story ever end? In my mind, reality bends. Counting off these padded walls, my laughter echoes down the halls. Am I crazy after all? Sorry. I have to get a new pick. Laughing out loud in spite of sadness. Appearing sane despite my madness. I don't need you to understand. Put away your helping hand. Just lead me to my wonderland. My wonderland. My wonderland. My wonderland. Falling victim to my own malice. I've lost myself. Just call me Alice. I like your guitar way better. By the way. My only friend, where have you been? It's been so long since I've seen you, but it's okay. I'm not yet quite completely insane. Anyways, my only friend, I see with a grin, the lightning glowing inside my storm. It's funny how a storm can quiet my mind somehow. Anyhow, take me away from this pain. Take me away from everything. Just for tonight, wanna feel right. I wanna feel normal. I'm not trying to complain. I'm on my knees and I'm begging. Please take away this hell I deal with every day. My only friend, we'll talk again. I'll need you to quiet down my mind. I'm forced to conform. We're a bit outside the social norms. I'm so bored. My only friend, leave it again. How long can we take on going this way? I think it's time that we combine in a state of sublime. Don't go blind. Take me away from this pain. Take me away from everything. Just for tonight, I wanna feel right. I wanna feel normal. I'm not trying to complain. I'm on my knees and I'm begging. Please take away still go on, stronger as one, quiet again. I gotta be careful when I play those quiet songs, really. You and I just can't exist anymore. We're always just killing ourselves. Once in time we could just get along. Now it's time to end it all, 'cause you left me there to die. Of all the people I figured you would be the one who would. But I am not here to live. I'm only here to finish what you could never do. Never do. Never do. We once stood as gods of our universe. Now that world's been torn in two. We brought on our own apocalypse. Destroyed all we worked to build. 'Cause you left me there to die. Of all the people I figured you would be the one who would. But I am not here to live. I'm only here to finish what you could never do. Never do. Never do. We're only fools. 'Cause now we're. This is the censored version, but I'll see if I can keep it that way. It seems the world is kind of messed up. Run away while there's still time. There's still time to get away from here. They sold a future for money. There's still time to get away before the bombs fall down. You just put your head into the sand and not gonna listen. You just turn on the television and you just call me crazy. Living in a fantasy, courtesy of brainwashing. Put on the sunglasses for me. Wake up and see everything's in front of you. You know what we have to do. You don't wanna see. No, you don't wanna see. And so they That's right, your favorite part's coming up. I know this word. Perhaps you should literate yourself. And if you're lucky, maybe Orwell will educate you. Try some Huxley. Brave New World 1984. Animal Farm and the Honor War. And see that you're dumb. Because well, I had to censor the song. It's so hard to censor a song. I'm sorry, guys. It's really not. Crazy. Living in a fantasy. Courtesy of brainwashing. Courtesy for wake up and see. And played us all like rules. And wrote all the rules. You don't wanna see. You called me crazy. Living in a fantasy. Courtesy of brainwashing. Put on the sunglasses for me. And just wake up and see. Everything's in front of you. You know what we have to do. And you don't wanna see. And you don't wanna see. The song's about her sister. She walks in a room when she... No. She stops a room when she walks in. All eyes on her swinging hips and bouncing. Still wet, licking her lips, thinking na 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 na, na 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 na. You're trapped in her center of attention, the black hole of possession and depression. You think a sucker trying to win her a smashing done. Na 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 na, na 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 na. You better run like hell, man. Cause you know that she is a black hole. Run like hell, she'll steal your soul. She's a Jezebel and now you're caught in her web. And she will make your life an unimaginable dread. You know that she will frame your misery. Don't play her game, it's deadly. She'll blame you for her tragedies and blame you for the BS that she... Can't say that word. I had to censor that. She is a narcissistic pessimist, a sexual demoness in a silky dress. She'll kill you with another look, thinking na 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 na, na 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 na. She'll play you like a beautiful symphony and leave you willfully in misery. You're just a possession to her good things, thinking na 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 na, na 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 na. You better run like hell, man. Cause you know that she is a black hole. Run like hell, she'll steal your soul. She's Jezebel and now you're caught in a web. And she will fill your life with unimaginable dread. You know that she will frame your misery. Don't play her game, it's deadly. She'll blame you for your tragedies and make you feel all the black hole. Run like hell. I'm doing the David Letterman song. Feel your soul. Cause she's a Jezebel. Don't play her game. She'll hear your thing. She'll blame you for all of her tragedies. She's a Jezebel.
We don't know.
I'm all busted up, broken bones and nasty cuts. Accidents will happen, but this time I can't get up. She comes to check on me, making sure I'm on my knees. After all, she's the one who put me in this place. Is she ultraviolet? Is she disturbed? I better tell her that I love her before she does it all over again. Although she's killing. Goddamn deep. Or now lie around. Well, that's all that I really do. She takes good care of me. Just keep saying my love is true. Is she ultraviolet? Is she disturbed? I better tell her that I love her before she does it all over again. Oh, she's killing me. Looking out my window for someone that's passing by. No one knows I'm locked in here. All I do is cry. For now, I lie around. Well, that's all I can really do. She takes good care of me. Just keep saying my love is true.
Ready to go.
Hopefully they don't get mad at me. Practice makes perfect. Why can't I say the things I've always really wanted to say? Maybe you would still be here and not a half a world away. We committed all these sins. Oh, my battery's dying. That's what that button was. Sorry. Sins. Maybe that's the price we pay. We're good at 'em. All that I know for sure is it's a pain that never goes away. So here I sit, and still it feels I'll be great. With all the love, the hate, the pain, and the angst. Slip away the day, slip away as I self-medicate. Oh, medicate. Walking down the street in a $20 tuxedo. I wish I had the dollars to buy some Jameson to show all of my stupid friends that I've dated, and I can't believe I get the best girl parts and alone in my room again, but I can't really see through the haze of my cigarette burning, but I didn't really notice the blaze. Strawman, my only friend, I can't really blame you for leaving. So I grab my medicine. It's the only thing that stops the grieving. So here I sit, and still it feels oddly great. With all the love, the hate, the pain, and the angst. Waste away the day and slip away as I self-medicate. Oh no, please don't go. Please don't take my life away. Oh no, please don't go. Promise me you'll never go away. I'm doing all I can. I'm a flawed and broken man, but you slipped away as I self-medicate. Why can't I say the things I've always really wanted to say?
Yes.
See if I can pull this one off. This will be epic if I can play this song.
Focus.
They'll come back and give me $1. Alright, here we go. Dark and eerie, worn and weary dreams inside my mind. Vision so very disturbing, scary. I'm running out of time. Suddenly, my dreams coalesce into reality. And again, I scream to the heavens, God, just let this end. Dark and leery, worn and weary dreams inside my mind. Visions of very disturbing and scary. I'm running out of time. Suddenly, my dreams coalesce into reality. And again, I scream to the heavens, God, just let this end. I tried to hide the dreams inside, but it's way too late. Demons have come out of my head, so now my brain. Suddenly, my dreams coalesce into reality. And again, I scream to the heavens, God, just let this end! Every night I go to sleep, the darkness sings to me. Feel like I'm inside a twilight zone of someone else's dream. Suddenly, my dreams coalesce into me. I can make it halfway through the song. You should have enough footage, right? See. were strong enough to remain friends, but I see you have no respect for me. Does it make you feel better? Talk crap about me, bleeding out to you, don't push me away. The only thing that's left for me is this forgotten melody. I ran out of picks. Things are so delicate, but you seem fit to travel right by. Why can't you realize that your lies are hurting more than just me? Destroy my reputation, all you want eventually. I'll correct the lies. Just remember there are bigger things than just you and I. Though we were strong enough to remain friends, but I see you have no respect for me. Does it make you feel better? Talk things about me, bleeding out to you, don't push me away. The only thing that's left for me is this forgotten melody. Thought we were strong enough to remain friends. It never fails. You with no respect for me. Does it make you feel better to talk things about me? I'm bleeding out to you, don't push me away. The only thing that's left for me is this forgotten melody.
It's also terrible on your eyeballs.
Is it?
Well,
I don't know
no,
much
it's
about-
just because of the weird 3D effect that goes
I don't
on
know
with
much
the
about
two,
biology.
with the two
like-
lights. You know what I mean?
When you say weird on your eyeballs, does it like give you headaches or something, or how does it impact you?
Because your eyes pick up different frequencies of light.
Mm-hmm.
So when you blast it with a certain range of light, like red is actually the most mellow. But then when you mix it with blue, it makes this intense purple, which is almost kind of like a bright, like almost like a UV light, I guess. And UV lights are really bad for your eyes, like super bad for your eyes.
In that they will destroy your
They just
vision, like it.
if you sit in an ultraviolet lit room, like a blacklight room, like all the time, eventually like your eyes start going like when you get in the darkness, all of a sudden, like your ability to see at night.
Oh, you get
starts
like
to-
cat vision. Like
like,
you just
yeah.
you can your night vision's great, but you need like sunglasses. Like
Right.
it's a Vin Diesel movie that where like
Oh,
he's,
Pitch Black.
Yes.
Yeah. You got
Where,
the
like,
ultraviolet
he-
shine on his. Yeah. It's kind of like that. But I used to sit in ultraviolet light all the time when I was younger. And now it's like I can't.
on purpose, or that was just what
I
you
just
were brought
liked
up
having
in?
black lights, around like the 60s. and
Oh, you
stuff.
requested them of your parents who were like, "Hey, can we put a?"
Oh, I probably when I went to college, my dorm, I had these big bar ultraviolet light, like you click on, and I used to use them to grow plants occasionally because they were fun for that. But yeah, but for like mood lighting and stuff, I would totally just
for mood lighting.
I'd sit in the garage and practice at night and like kill all the lights out in the garage, but have like one ultraviolet light on. And then you'd see all the damn scorpions and stuff. Freak you out. I hate spiders and scorpions. That's my joke anyway. But this is good. I don't know. It drives my wife's head crazy. She sat here the other day with the two on, and she's like, I gotta get out of this room.
I mean,
I think it just messes with your field.
from
of
an
vision.
evolutionary perspective, it's interesting how human beings react to like sunlight,
Right.
Or how
Which is really intense ultraviolet light, basically. if you think about it. There's
Yeah.
a lot of UV rays inside of sunlight.
Yeah. And yet,
But yeah, we live.
it's good for us.
Right.
I mean, I guess we don't absorb
You
it
get
like
the vitamin
plants
D.
do.
We get vitamin D from sunlight, actually. Quite a
Which
bit.
is
Which is
skin.
good for our skin, yes.
Yeah. But I mean, like,
Bad for our eyes. Which is why we wear sunglasses so often. Because.
But emotionally speaking,
Hmm?
isn't sunlight like better
yes.
for we human
Well,
beings?
for some
And why
people,
is that?
I mean, unless like I thrive in the rain. I love rain.
When you say thrive, walk me through thrive in the rain. I can't imagine. Like,
Other than being wet all the time, I like gloomy days. Like just because I feel more.
but I mean, a year or two in that, I imagine you would be like,
Right.
boy, I could.
That's
like
why I
some-
don't live in Seattle.
So when you say you thrive, it's temporary.
But see, you're talking to a kid that grew up here in the desert, so every time it rains, it's a happy day for us. Like it's like, oh,
Yeah,
my
just
God.
because it's unusual. Yeah,
Yeah, you're
It's
like,
not
oh,
fun
the
for
sun's
us.
not beating on me today. I can go out. It feels nice. It's gloomy.
That
it's-
actually answers like one of the first questions I wanted to ask you, because I really don't know anything about you interpersonally. Like,
There you
we
go.
just like
Ask away,
play
man.
song. You know, we play shows and stuff together. You helped me with my last album.
You know how
and all that,
candid
like
I am,
this.
man.
So you're from here.
I was born and raised in Phoenix. Born in Maryville Hospital, in fact, downtown. Grew up here. Lived on 67th Ave in Indian School till I was about 6. Right
So you're
on.
like a Glendale, like Phoenix kid.
Yeah. I
Like
mean,
North Phoenix.
if you drive down 67th Avenue,
Uh-huh.
and just before you hit like Encanto, there's all these houses.
Okay.
I lived in one of those houses until I was 6.
Oh, wow.
Then I moved to this neighborhood called Villa de Paz, which is just off 107th and Indian School.
Okay.
So I came to the West Valley.
Got it.
Grew up there, went to Villa de Paz Elementary School, went to Westview High School, which
Okay.
is just down the road there.
Uh-huh.
And then I went to U of A. And when I went to U of A, my parents moved to like 75th Avenue, Deer Valley, way the fuck up north there. And so when I came home, it was in a different neighborhood. It was all kind of crazy.
U of A is in Tucson?
University of Arizona, or what do they call it now? UAZ, U Arizona.
In my brain, that's in Tucson.
Yeah, I went to Tucson.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
I went to Tucson for 3 years.
All of those college
At U of A. Lived in a dorm at U of A. And, I was double majoring in chemistry and psychology. Not a good idea.
Okay, because
Too much work. I bit off more than I could chew.
But those also seem like very unrelated fields.
Right. I didn't know it. Well, no, not necessarily, because I was thinking of becoming a psychiatrist, which having a chemistry background would help you with the pharmaceutical side of it.
Sure.
And then you have to become a doctor to be a psychiatrist. So and then U of A had one of the best med schools at the time. So
okay.
I was like prepping myself to get into like a med school kind of thing. I was going to be Dr. Harley Quinzel. No, but yeah. But then I bit off more than I could chew. I kind of went crazy actually, because I was constantly studying like all the time.
Because you're a hard worker, and when
Right.
people, especially when people put things on you, like when expectations are set on you, like you'll drive yourself crazy to meet them.
I'm an Aries, and I'm an INFJ, which is like one of the rarest. So there's this like test you take where they give you like 4 letters, and like it's supposed to tell you about your personality.
Oh.
And INFJ, and then mixed with and then I kind of have my stupid astrological bullcrap that I don't believe in, but it's fun to say it.
Aries.
But
Or
as
even
an
beyond
Aries,
that.
I'm but like
Yeah.
being an Aries, you're supposed to be very stubborn, hard-headed,
Uh-huh.
hardworking,
Uh-huh.
like drive yourself crazy to get to the ends means.
Uh-huh.
But that's also an INFJ personality. It's just the way it is. Like
Oh.
I don't
okay.
get a lot of friends because I'm very hard to deal with, I guess. Like
Really?
I can be very stubborn about a lot of things, and then people kind of go, "Oh, I don't," or I'm also very candid. Like people get uncomfortable around me because of the things I'll talk about sometimes. Just for, I mean, I think it's fun. And the people are like, "Why are you doing that?" It's fun.
I mean, has that been always, or is that?
Yeah, I've
Like
had
the
very,
older
very,
that
very
you
few.
got.
Well, I have a lot of acquaintances, if that makes sense. Like I can walk into a room and have the entire room eating out of my hand in a second if I want to. But at the same time, I like having interpersonal relationships a lot more. Like I like having friends that I can just say, "Hey, what's going on? Like, let's you and me go have a beer and talk about stupid stuff." Like that is more poignant to me, I guess.
Okay.
You know, like I don't like the like I guess I grew up in the 80s, and then I mean I was in high school in the early 90s, mean, I went to college in the late 90s and the early 2000s.
Uh-huh.
And then I came back and my bar scene was like full of this like fakeness, which I don't think has necessarily gone away, but it was just like you go places and people tried to like you because of who you were, I guess, or who they thought you were, but they would never take the time to actually get to know who you were, I guess. And that always bothered me because it's like you try to tell them something about you and they're like, oh yeah, that's funny, haha, I don't care. And then, but I still like you. And it's like, But if you met me on the street, you'd probably avoid me like crazy because, you know, like, I'm a little nuts about things. Like people.
How so?
I just have a very different point of view about things that people don't find. I think it's funny, and it's not. I mean, sometimes it's not. I have a very dark.
Is it that you're trying to be funny, or
No.
is it that the perspectives with which you inhabit
I
just happen to be humorous?
I find things funny that people don't. And I'm not trying to be funny. I genuinely like find humor in things that people are like, that is terrifying. Like, why would you?
So this isn't like Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, where it's like his laughter isn't even him thinking something's funny. It's just a reaction or whatever.
No.
Like you're.
I genuinely find
tickled
it funny
by subjects that other people are just like.
Exactly. Which is why I wanted to be a psychologist, because I wanted to delve into that human psyche, like that part of like. Why do some people not find certain things funny, but other people find things hilarious? Like that was what I really wanted to study. Was like,
but it almost seems like you're trying to at that point like deconstruct comedy, which I think is a super super interesting thing to do. However, that almost seems like more of a communications study than psychology, because I feel like. Daniel Tosh and like his last special People Pleaser, like
Tosh.0 guy. No. I mean, I just want to make sure I'm talking. Yeah, okay. I love the guy. No,
the show's great.
Fantastic.
His stand-up's better.
Right.
And everybody that likes Tosh.0, stop it. Go back and watch
the stand-ups. Right.
I can't even remember the name of the specials now.
No,
Happy Thoughts, like a lot of great specials.
I agree with you.
But in
100%.
People Pleaser, like he talks about how there are people that like. Will say there's nothing funny about rape or there's nothing funny about abortion. He's just like, well, there is if you write a good joke. Like, the idea being that, like, if you have a room full of all sorts of different types of demographics and all sorts of different backgrounds, if you approach a subject from a very, like, if you're just threading the needle with, like, where you're coming at from,
throwing a dart, and
80+% of that room will laugh at it, not necessarily because they think that the subject matter you're talking about is funny, but because the way that you poised it
your delivery
can't not be laughed at unless you're really just going to lean into deciding to be offended by it. Thus, what you're talking about is less like a study in psychology and like, why do people feel the way people think? That's just as easy as it's like peeling the onion of people down to like, where do you come from? What were your experiences? But comedy works on a whole different level where it's like, I'm going to give you access to something to laugh at something that normally speaking you would shun and hate.
I think I was more interested in why certain people got offended by what most of the room found funny. Like why there was always those handful of people that were like why they would genuinely not get the joke, I guess. You know what I mean?
But even if they get it, maybe it's just a choice to like, okay, I understand the perspective of what was said, and I could laugh if I really felt like it, but for whatever judgmental reason, I'm going to deny this person a laugh response, and I'm going to make them see that I'm like, nope. Like that was not good enough. It wasn't sufficient, or that subject. You're not going to get me with that. And I think I think I'm with you on that in the sense where like in most rooms, I think I will try to like weave the presentation of an idea in such a way not to garner laughter. Although I do hope that happens. I'm using it to try to like bring to the cream of the. I want to see the people that don't like it, so I can lean in over there and be like, "What happened over here? Let's figure this out." So I think I'm with you on that.
You're getting it exactly, Adam.
And which is kind of stupid because what ends up happening is a whole side of the room loved it, and they're not getting my attention anymore. Like they could just keep loving it. It's fine. I'm gonna figure out how to get you two people in on what's happening.
I already gave you your dog treat. What's wrong with this guy? No, seriously, that's how I feel. No, genuinely. And I will even use like very self-depreciating humor to try to get those people to be like, oh yeah, I hate you. Or like last night, I mean, that guy walked, I don't even know what that guy said, but all I saw was looked over and you were flipping him off.
I was, yeah, as he was
And
walking
then-
away.
so I was like-
didn't hear what he said either, but there was a tone in his body language toward you that I was like, don't make fun of my boy.
So I just
I'll get up.
chuckled and I'm
I
like,
will get up
cool.
and throw something.
I'm
at
gonna
you.
wing this for 5 seconds until I wanted to say a bad
I
word.
was waiting for him to turn back around and come back. I'm like, you don't know the pussies you're dealing with here. We will immediately apologize and give you all the money in the till. Please don't hurt us.
Oh, I got no love for those kind of guys though. I
So
bullied by all those kind of guys growing up, so I don't care no more. I just don't care.
I'm with you, but on a
Of course, I don't want them to
confrontation
come
basis,
shoot me.
I don't.
No.
I'm not a fighter.
I only did it because I knew he wasn't
Outside
listening.
of if you like hit a kid or if you hit a woman
Oh,
or
right,
something,
right.
I'll start throwing punches, but I don't know if I'm going to win the skirmish.
Right.
Like, you're probably going to take me down.
I genuinely only did it because I knew he wasn't listening to me. I mean, he was never gonna, like, he stopped paying attention the minute he
Which
caught
means at that point, the joke was actually
For you.
inside of the group.
Right.
It was
At
you
that
and
point,
me
it was for you
and the
guys.
ladies present to just
Exactly.
realize what was happening and have a tee-hee as he's walking away.
Yeah, which is kind of douchey, but it's alright. That's what I
Begs the question, is what you did douchier than what he did? I don't know.
We'll call it a draw. I don't know. Quid pro quo, is that the word we look for nowadays? He gave me something, I gave him something back.
So
It wasn't $1.
so let's get back into your past and let's figure you out as a human being. You grew up in Phoenix. You discovered what you had. I imagine you had a love for music right off the bat, but your
Fourth
discovery of the performance of music, when did that?
Trumpet, 4th grade. I started playing trumpet. Oh yeah, I got one.
Like classical or like you were...
like a school band.
Yeah.
Like got into the school
And you
band.
loved it.
Oh, I love playing music. I couldn't care less what instrument I played. Trumpet was just the easiest. It was like 3 buttons, you know?
I'd quit if you made me like...
That's all you had to do all day, you know? Like, that's all it was. Like, I wanted to do the drums, but everybody wanted to do the drums. That was the problem. I mean, because drums are... You know, in a school band, you play drums, you're either on the snare drum and you go... Da, 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 or you're on the... I mean, like, that's not fun. I wanted to play, and I wanted to be the loudest instrument in the band next to the drums, which was a trumpet. So I was like, ah! And I did that from 4th grade all the way till I graduated high school. I was in the marching band in high school. I was in the concert bands throughout all of my school years. I was actually the section leader of my high school. I was the president of my high school band.
But you must have, like, discovered rock and roll somewhere.
Oh, way early. My dad, Zeppelin, AC/DC, Motley Crue, Aerosmith, God, I could just go on. Like, freaking
But like
Scorpions,
hard rock.
Journey. I mean, classic rock, though. Hard rock I got into probably about in the 90s. I think the first taste of hard rock I ever really, truly, like, got was when Metallica put out the Black Album. And I started going,
It was a big moment.
holy crap, you can get louder? And then...
And technical.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you could write really catchy songs, but play these, like, loud and
that riff
annoying.
to, like, Wherever I May Roam still, like,
Right?
tickles my brain. I just love the...
Man.
Ugh.
What that song that starts out and goes dun 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 dun.
Holier Than Thou.
Oh
Yeah.
man, I'm like, or like even like the My Friend of Misery
Yeah,
that starts with
My
that
Friend of
bass
Never,
song, that dun 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 dun, that My Friend of Misery song. I mean, and it was supposed to be an instrumental until James was like, dude, I gotta write lyrics for this. It's so, I mean, it was written by Jason Newsted though, actually, which a lot of people don't know.
Wow.
He wrote the whole bass line for it and had it all set. It was supposed to be the
I
like
haven't followed
Orion.
him, like, post-Metallica. Have you followed his stuff?
It's really good. He's come out
Wow.
with some really good stuff here
Okay.
and there. I think he made the best decision. I mean, not to bag on Metallica or anything. I mean, my wife hates.
What was it? It was,
hates Metallica. So
Was it in Some Kind of Monster or something where, like, Metallica was working on a new album, but they hadn't done anything
was
in a
Saint
while?
Anger.
and was it Saint Anger where like
and everybody
where Jason's new band came out with like stuff, and they were having like this big show, and he invited Metallica to come, and they came, and like Lars was having like a freak out because he was just like,
"It's so good,
dude. Is Jason cool now, and are we out?
Right.
Like, is it like
that was it? Yeah, absolutely. Well, it was some kind of monster movie.
Yeah.
You're very, very right. I was such a
just watching like Lars, like who's just accomplished so much. Like have a meltdown about a good CD release show of some new band that I don't think anybody was talking about so much. No. It was just they just played a good show.
Echo something.
I don't even remember. Yeah, right.
But yeah, it was like maybe 1,000, 2,000 people were going to buy it and listen to it, and he was And
I'm like, Lars, you filled arenas. What are you talking about?
Right.
But at the same time, I could really relate to that and be like, oh, like fame isn't permanent,
right?
And it's a teat that you constantly have to like suck at,
right,
to continue to feel valuable,
right?
And I don't know that I'd ever. I guess you see people like I guess Led Zeppelin to some degree is an example of that, where it seems to me like they stepped away from Led Zeppelin. And they did other things, but nothing was ever like that big, and it doesn't seem like any of them are that bothered by it. They're like, I don't want to be in Led Zeppelin anymore. Like, I'm fine.
Which I love to death. It's like, they all still do their music. I mean, once Bonham died, it was like, they're never going to have Zeppelin again. They got together like one time.
His kid's
with his
good.
kid. I mean, his kid is fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a great drummer. But it's like one of my favorite bands ever in the early 2000s was a band called Static X. They were like techno metal, like rah, 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 rah. I loved it. I don't know why, but I ate it for breakfast.
Yeah.
And I saw them 10, 20 times. I mean, I met that band so many times. I have things signed by I have Wayne Static signatures on like 6 different things around this house somewhere.
Wow.
And I loved it though. It was like well, maybe I should back up. Let me rewind back to high school.
Okay.
I met this guy in high school named Dane. He was a bass player, basically. And we were in jazz band together. I was playing guitar, jazz band, and he was playing bass, and and I kept going, man, we should hang out and like jam. Like, it was the only bass player in the whole school that I knew. Like, you gotta meet the bass player. Bass players are probably one of the most underrated and important parts of your band.
Good ones, for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Drummers in this state are impossible to find.
Yeah.
Bass players are damn near next to impossible to find. Yeah. Good ones, like you said. I mean, anybody can play drums and half-ass it behind you, but bass players, though, like, and I love, like, and it doesn't show in a lot of my tunes, because I've been playing all the bass on the stuff lately. It doesn't show a lot in my music lately, but I love, I mean, I grew up listening, Rush and like, like freaking like Skinner and like bass players had a purpose. They didn't just mimic what the guitar player was doing. And I mean, even early Metallica. I mean, Burton.
Green Day. Mike Dirnt, the way like he can riff on a bass guitar, which is pretty uncommon.
That. And not a lot of them do that anymore. Yeah. And now it's just, you're just that guy that stands on next to the stage and makes the low end sound good. But so I met this guy and he was just phenomenal. Like, I used to always gloat when we were on stage. I'm like, this is the best bass player in Arizona. Like, all the time. I used to just throw it at him all the time, and he hated me for it, probably to the nth degree. But I loved the guy. We were brothers. I mean, we used to go play band, like, in trumpet and stuff, and then we'd take the jazz band out, and like, the first major stage him and I ever took was at what was it called now? Cricket Pavilion? Desert Sky Pavilion? Whatever the frick that outdoor pavilion by what used to be Westridge Mall.
Yeah.
We got to play there. Wow. We got to play there with our band. They had this big thing where they had brought all the elementary school kids, and then we as the high school got to like jam, and we were on that stage, and I looked at him and I was like, dude, this is the greatest thing ever. And we played, what song did we play? We played a Metallica song. I think we played Ain't My Bitch. Off of Load.
Well done.
And then we played Basket Case from Green Day. for these like elementary school kids. My band director was so cool. He's like, dude, you guys rock. You should go out there and do this. And eventually, like, him and I just kept looking at each other going, we just need to get a good drummer, man. Like, let's get a drummer and do this. But at the time, I was bouncing two worlds of, like, he was teaching me about metal.
Yeah.
I mean, he started introducing me to Pantera and Megadeth and freaking Iron Maiden and, like, Black Sabbath and things I had, like, never had the gall to even, like, listen to.
Yeah.
Because the other half of my music career is from my mom, which is, like, the Beatles and Bread and the Monkees. And, like, that's where I get all my pop influence. Like,
melodies. And,
yeah, it's like that whole...
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
My dad was, like, the hard rocker and my mom was the pop rocker, kind of. And, like...
Yeah.
And then... on top of that, I had from my dad, he was a big Motown guy. So I had, like, Michael Jackson, Kool and the Gang. Like, I mean, he had these things on vinyl that I would just sit there and listen to as a kid. I mean, I would be burning these things to cassette tape. Burning them to cassette tapes. For you guys that don't know what a cassette tape is. And a vinyl record. Well, you might know what vinyl records are again, but... You had to play the vinyl record and you had to run it into the cassette tape and then you had to push these two buttons down that recorded it for you and then you took it and then...
I love that John Cusack movie High Fidelity has put that in, like, has tattooed that into, like, the... I don't know, the entertainment sphere forever. That you get to watch him multiple times in that movie. Sit down next to a vinyl with a cassette deck connected to it and
done,
make
kids.
a mixtape out of, like, hey, here's what's coming next.
When you wanted to wow your girlfriend, you sat down with like 20 vinyl records and said, and for you don't know about vinyl records, there's a little line that tells you what track it is instead of having to push the button. I
still couldn't figure it out.
I know, you would try to get it
back
right
then,
now.
but I bet I still couldn't do it.
You'd like start it, oh shit, it's too far. Oh shit, it's too far to the back. Nope, that's the way it always was, man.
Or back when we were all, like, too poor to, like, buy, like, CDs and stuff.
Right.
You'd buy, like, a block of cassettes, like 5 blank cassettes or something, and you'd listen to the radio.
Right.
And you'd just cross your fingers that the DJ would shut his mouth before the intro to that song started. And you'd hit record and just, like, get it, and hit stop. And you would just make a mixtape off the radio of stuff that you dug and take it and play it. But it was never perfect. You always had, like, that Offspring song, and you caught the DJ, like, talking right up until he started singing. You're like, this sucks.
I used to just go to sleep at night and turn my volume down, but push record, because they would play all the best music at night when you went to sleep. And I would just record.
To record, like,
the 30 minutes
Scott Punk show or whatever at night.
Yeah, like the 30 minutes. And then I would take that tape and put a second tape in, and then you'd fast forward to the beginning, and you'd record it and put it on the next tape, and then, like, man, you just get all the crap out of the middle and all the commercials and stuff. Oh, dude, these kids have no idea.
We worked for
we had to get our art. Are you kidding? Holy crap. You had to go to record stores and request 7 inches from bands that you wish they carried. And they'd be like, oh, yeah, I can order that for you, maybe.
You paying for it now?
Especially out here in Arizona, you know, like all the bands I listened to when I was a teenager, I'm like, dude, they're all got their 7 inches or their, I mean, well, they had CDs by the time I was in high school.
Yeah, same.
But it was like, nobody carried them in any of the music stores though. Like, and what was it back in the day? Tower Records, the freaking
Hollywood Records.
Hollywood, yeah.
And then you're like Circuit Cities and whatever, like had a CD section.
Had the
Walmart was where I got all my crap back in the...
But like to find the real elusive crap, you had to find out the band's website or their record company, and you could write to them and send them a check or money in an envelope.
Well, yeah, the Columbia, whatever those.
Or they had where they would do that.
The mail order stuff. Yeah,
but like back in the days, like I loved this band called the Mr. T Experience that was on Lookout Records. Oh, I loved those guys to death, and I couldn't find their newest record anywhere, which was at the time it was Love Is Dead, what was the name of that record? God, I played the hell out of it. I've bought 4 copies of it, and I still don't have a copy of it to this day because I've ruined them all. I wish I could find it again.
Gotta be on Amazon. Has to be. I think everything's on Amazon.
Love Is Sweet and So Are You. I think that's the name of that record. God, I played the hell out of that thing. And you had to write Lookout Records and put the $15 in the envelope and send it to them to get your hands on the damn thing. And nowadays it doesn't. I mean, maybe you could find it. I haven't looked. Maybe it's on iTunes. Maybe like I should just go.
I mean, I bet even like LimeWire's still active. You could just get it for free.
Well, that's
if
what
you
I
really wanted. But that stuff's dangerous.
I don't download music illegally.
I do. A lot. But usually only for the podcast when I like need something for, and then I'm like, what?
Dude, I had the new Green Day album like a week before it even came out. And I had already bought I have the vinyl record. And they gave me a free digital download. I still downloaded it a week before.
You like it? I haven't listened to it yet.
You know.
You don't. You
No, I do.
You're trying not to judge it, but you don't like it.
No, see, I don't think of it as a Green Day record, though.
Oh.
See, I love the Foxborough Hot Tubs.
Yeah.
Their album. That was fantastic. I loved what they did when they did the network. It was fantastic. I kind of dug some of the songs off the Long Shot thing that Billy did. This album is like, it reminds me of, what it seems like to me is like they said, hey, this is our last album on Warner Records. We're going to get off the record label. Let's just take all of our cool side project influences and throw them all together on an album real quick. And I'm just going to grab a cover art of American Idiot and put some glitter glue on the front and just call it, and put a puking unicorn on it. Which, by the way, I did a cover of Rotting, which is a B-side of Green Day, like 3 or 4 years ago. And the picture is a puking unicorn puking a rainbow. And I wanted to write Green Day, go, thanks for stealing my ideas, you jackasses. There is a running joke between me and most of my friends that Green Day steals my ideas quite often for the records. Like, I feel like there's a bug in my room. Because, like, if you listen to the new record, there's a lot of that, like, megaphone or echoey kind of vibe. There's some songs, like, he does certain, like the end of, there's a song where at the end of the song, he doesn't play the last chord, but it kind of goes, choo, 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 choo. I said, dude, I did that in the opening of She's So Perfect, where I was playing the acoustic part, and then it went, choo, choo, and then it kicked into the main song, and I'm like, the hell? Like, every single time I put...
Great minds think alike.
Exactly. And that's what I mean, jokingly, though, I keep saying, there's got to be a bug in here, and Billy...
But it is annoying in the sense where it's like, Billy does it, and can pay for his house. Right. You do it,
and nothing.
And 50 people know that it exists.
That's why I'm like at the point, I keep going, Billy, I'll come write songs for you guys. Your album will be fantastic. Just pay me for it. I mean, I would go to California and make an album with you. I would.
You shouldn't publish any more of your material from here forward.
Right.
Send it all to like Billy@greenday.com or something, and just wait.
I mean,
wait to see what
he's
happens.
Really sweet about like posting. I mean, he loves fans to death. I got to sing with them on stage in 2009.
Back when they used to pull people on stage, like build a band
they
on
still
stage
do.
and stuff?
No. This was during the 21st Century Breakdown tour.
Oh, wow.
He would pull fans out of it constantly.
Sure.
I got pulled up to sing Longview, and I got on stage and ripped Longview for them, and it's the greatest, like, fucking feeling. I mean, 15,000, and I didn't choke that day. I'll tell you that right now.
Can you imagine you just looking at the ceiling and being like, bite my eye, it's all gone, right. It's all gone.
The only time I freaked out, I was sitting there singing, and all of a sudden he came up behind, like, I always have this problem with people behind me when I play. And he came up behind me to sing a verse with me, and I went, oh, I should share the mic. Like, I had that moment of like, I'm standing next to Billy Joe Armstrong singing Longview with him. This is weird. like you don't. It goes by so fast. Like you don't have time to process it in the moment. But I just lived in that moment. And then when we went to go, I remember I ran up to the top of the drums and I was like banging on Trey's cymbals with my hands, and he hands me a drumstick, and he's like, so I was like, because they do this like long drawn out thing at the end of Longview, and then Billy's like, jump, and I'm like, cool. I took the drumstick and like flung it into the crowd like an idiot, going, why didn't I keep the souvenir?
I didn't even think about that till you
like,
said it.
I'm just like, wee, and then I'm like pointing where I'm gonna jump. I ran all the way back to the drum riser, and I mean, because the gap for the security is like huge nowadays, and I'm like, I'm fucking do the biggest stage dive of my life right now. And I did. I shot off into the crowd and they caught me and they put me down. And then they parted like the Red Sea so I could get back to where I was because I was on the front. Mm-hmm. They all just went whoop and like let me go right back to where I was without having to like, because I was with my then girlfriend. Oh, okay. And I told her when I got pulled on stage, I was like, I'll see you after the show in the back. Because I was like, there's no way I'm going to make it back up here. Like, once I'm up there, they're going to kick me. And sure enough, though, everybody just went, go back to your girl. And I was like, man, that is so freaking cool. I don't even remember the song they played afterwards, but everybody tells me it was Basket Case, and I do not remember the song at all.
I feel like I've seen them once at Mason Amphitheater forever ago when they were on tour.
Was it with the Living End?
Yeah.
Oh, that was
great
a great show.
And then I've seen like DVDs. It's not like Bullet in the Bible, and I've seen like a lot of live stuff. I don't like the way he does Basket Case live.
No,
it's as if he's not a fan of the song, so he just like races through it. That and the way that he played Good Riddance at the end of Bullet in the Bible annoyed the shit out of me. Because I was like, do you know how good this song is? Right. Do you know how much you just burned it for how much I love this song? Because you don't give a fuck anymore?
Right. I mean, when you're in day 152 of a tour and you're like, this is the 152nd time I've had to play this song.
Yeah.
It's hard to like... But yeah. I get you. Especially if, like, you know it's going to be on DVD, you think it would be like, it's just going to be.
Uh-huh.
And nowadays, it's like, you know, everybody with their damn fucking cell phones, which. That's another thing that annoys me about live shows nowadays. It's like, you go to see a band and you're like, and there's like 16 people around you with their cell phones going, put your damn fists down, you're in the way of my shot. And I'm like, fucking watch the show, you asshole. I'm gonna record this for YouTube. Yeah, you and the other 150,000 people in this freaking venue. Like, come on. These kids nowadays have no idea what it means to just truly lose yourself in music.
Yeah.
It's all about this. And then they watch it through this little screen like they're at home. And I'm like, you should have just stayed home, saved the $200 for the ticket, and watched it on YouTube tomorrow. Because that's exactly what you're doing at the fucking show. And then you get mad when you get bumped into or anything. And it's like, I'm trying to film. Go home. You're not there to enjoy the show. I wouldn't want those people there. Seriously, I don't care if I got 2 people left in the crowd. If I had 150,000 people doing that, I'd be like, y'all can leave. I'm not playing another song to put your fucking phones away. Like, legitly. I don't care. Wow. Put that stuff away. Like, well, you remember, you used to be able to go to shows and they're like, no cameras. Like, you couldn't even bring cameras or video cameras, or you just went in with you.
I hear what you're saying, and
maybe
I
it was
agree
a little
with
before
the...
you.
No, I remember.
Oh, do you remember?
I remember.
Yeah.
But to be fair, I didn't discover like rock and roll until like 95. And prior to that,
but you still had
it was all like country. So I went to like Country Thunder and stuff like that. It's a whole different
type
they have
of
a
human
different
kind
and
of...
I was like way in the back and stuff. I'd never been like front row at a show until Warped Tour or something like that. So it was just, and that even back then there wasn't like smartphones. There was no cameras. So I know what you mean. I think what has changed my perception of like being filmed while I'm doing something is Gotham, because so many times either somebody's sitting there enjoying food at Mango's or somebody passing by that just hears something that they're impressed by, they'll pull out their phone and start shooting me, and most of the time I see them do it and I just kind of like lean in to what's happening and I just try to like turn up my own, I don't know, presence, performance, whatever, to just give that video whatever, and just cross my fingers that they, like, grabbed a business card and tagged me in the damn post, so people don't just see some random good guy on the side of the road playing. They can, like, kind of follow what I do. But based on that, if it happened at, like, Pub Rock, or if it happened whatever, I think I'm just kind of, like... It serves a purpose in the sense that it spreads what I do. On a Green Day level, different. They don't need the promo. Everyone knows
for
a Green Day.
For you and me, hell yeah, film me all day long.
Yeah, for sure.
No, but I mean, if I was a band that was playing for that kind of crowd, I'd be like...
But in the sense of, I guess,
away, guys.
I have to assume that Green Day experienced it similar to the way you and I did.
They grew up.
At some point, they looked out in the crowd and like phones were up and they were just like, this is weird. And then eventually it was like the whole crowd. Or like
Billy will come down and steal somebody's phone and like sit there and sing and
have a good time with it, because in his head,
now it's...
I think like it, and I think it's sad that there's a perception of him like selling out and just being such a big rock star that they don't believe this.
Sure.
But I think Billy is still Billy from the block. He
truly cares.
Is a very humble,
Very much.
like grounded musician.
Right.
And so to him, this whole thing is still DIY fun.
Right.
So when people pull out their phones, and I feel like even, I went and saw Train like 2 or 3 years ago at Peoria Sports Complex, and he was singing Soul Sister, or just one of their like giant hits, and he came down and was walking along like the front of the stage, and he'd lean down and he'd take somebody's phone while he's singing, never missed a beat,
And just
turn around and take a selfie with the person while he's singing. Did it like 9 times all across the front row.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's a pro. That guy gets it. This is amazing.
And in the same argument, I agree with you on Green. I mean, because Green Day's never hesitated to pull idiots out of the freaking crowd to go play. I mean, they'll have them play, a song. They'll put them on all their instruments.
At that Mace Amphitheater show, like watching them build a band on stage and like
they played
play the song.
The Operation Ivy song, and like they're like, "Here's the
fun."
They do it all the time, which I think is fantastic because you think not 30 years ago. I mean, you go see Aerosmith. You think Joe Perry's gonna pull you out of the crowd to play his freaking guitar? No. You think Steven Tyler's gonna let you come sing one of his songs? Hell no. Like, but these guys, they're like, we were those kids once. Like we were. I mean, it's that whole what's that movie with Mark Wahlberg in it? The
Rockstar.
Oh yeah, like
hell yeah.
We're gonna pick the guy out of the crowd and he's gonna rip it and like.
And the whole like. Even the reciprocal nature of that by the end of the movie, after he's all burned out, like he hears the kid in the crowd singing, he's just like,
I'm gonna go take a piss.
It's him like pulling Simba up to the sun again. He's just like, here's the next generation, kids. I'm out of here.
I'm at it, man.
Enjoy your experience with this.
I love it to death. But anyway, I'm gonna read everybody back. I know.
Go back.
I'm sorry. So high school.
I'm in too. Yes, high school.
I had the medal, and so I got taken once by one of my aunts to see Green Day in 1992. Just after Kerplunk came out in San Francisco.
How did you even know who they were?
I didn't know.
Oh, she was like, hey, come check out this band.
No, she wanted to see the other band that was playing with them.
Oh.
And
who were they playing with? It would have been like more...
I want to say it was... I don't even remember.
I've seen documentaries about that time and that scene too. I can't even think of the big bands.
It was not a big band. It was like a local show kind of.
Oh, she was from there, so she was just like, "Hey, these guys are cool. Let's go see them."
So, I just remember Billy. He had his dreads back then, and he gets out on stage. I remember that they have this song called "Paper Lanterns," and he does this part. He goes dun 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 dun, but right in the it's in the middle of the song, and he just did this like scream, and I'm watching this guy like beat on his guitar, and I'm going. Well, that looks like a hell of a lot of fun. Like, you don't even have, because I grew up watching, 80s metal, hair metal bands where you had to do this, you had to be a wanker is, what we ended up starting calling them. And don't get me wrong, I've learned how to wank in my years just for fun, but, and I'm talking about a guitar, kids.
I'm not.
But,
that's kind of wanky.
Seeing a band that just, walked on stage and they were playing, and you think this is because it was just after Nirvana had come out too. So I had seen. And Nirvana totally changed the entire
But I discovered rock after he was dead. So I came in
the history of rock and roll. There's the 80s, and then there's the Nirvana moment, which killed the careers of about 90% of everybody that was in the music industry at that moment, because everybody was like. Oh, you don't have to do all that technical crap. You could just write a good song with good lyrics that nobody understands what you're singing. But that's that moment for me. I remember the first time I heard Nirvana too, and I was like, I could do this. I can do this. I could write songs like this. To me, it became more about the storytelling than the flashy guitar solos and the, how cool can I twirl the drums in my fingers. That's the generation I grew up with. It was like, man, watching freaking Poison and Motley Crue and Winger and all the MTV shit, back in the days. I'll tell you this, when I grew up, I remember my mom, because MTV had just gotten on cable roughly a few years before I was like right around when I was born, but I remember when I was a young kid, she used to just park me in front of MTV because I loved music so much.
Yeah.
And I would sit and watch MTV for hours. I mean, hours and hours. There were like commercials that would come on the TV that had music in it. And no matter where I was in the house, my mom said I would come running out and sit down and like watch the commercial just to hear the music. And then I, as it went along, I started progressing into like, how many the freaking cool, like the Cars. You never knew the Cars until they got on MTV. Like, not many kids knew about them. And that was the late 70s, early 80s. I mean, I remember watching Cars videos all the time thinking, what is this? This is awesome. Like, who's one of my other favorite 80s? Like, I mean, the Go-Go's. I mean, not to like pop myself out, but dude, Corey, what's his name? The I'll wear my sunglasses at night guy, like that video. I loved that song. The Romantics, the Kinks, like all the things that popped up all of a sudden on MTV that you would like the Talking Heads and Blondie and like things that you would never have been introduced to otherwise.
Interesting.
Ever. MTV played a big part of me. I watched MTV from the time I can remember until it turned into not MTV.
Yeah.
And then it became whatever it is now. I don't even... Is it even on TV anymore? I don't...
Well, there's two of them now.
Is there?
MTV2. It's all reality
now
shows.
I get my stuff off
It's not
YouTube,
music,
so
yeah.
I'm like, YouTube's a far better place to find bands and find, seeing them perform and stuff. So, but... Man, and then when I grew up, I had all that tucked up here, plus all this music my parents listened to all the way tucked up here. Then I went into school and started learning the technical, like the classics and the composers and you started playing all these other songs that got tucked up here. And then by the time I got to high school, I was ready to explode and go, what do I do with all this? Like, and then I met this guy who's like, I'm going to introduce you to metal. And now my only introduction to metal at that point had been the Black Album to Metallica.
Okay.
I'm not going to lie. I had only been... So by the time I think I met him when I was 15. I had never really listened to like metal, real metal. And I was like, yeah, I love that Black Album. Like there's the songs off the Black Album. He goes, dude, if you like that, he handed me Master of Puppets. He goes, go home and listen to this and come talk to me tomorrow. And I went home, put it on my CD player at home, and Battery came on. I mean, and to this day, Battery is one of my favorites. I mean, good Lord. And it hit me like a wall, and I went back the next day, and I didn't bring the CD back. And I said, do you have more? He was like, here's Ride the Lightning, here's Kill 'Em All, here's Injustice for All. And I went, I'm going to get these back to you in like a month. Just give me, and then I took them all home. I listened to all of the Metallica catalog. I mean, at the time, that's all there was
Sure.
the Black Album.
Arguably still the
Or the
stuff.
Garage.
I don't know if you've stayed with it.
Dude.
What was it?
I didn't mind,
I
didn't mind a lot of Death Magnetic, but it was produced poorly.
Wasn't it on purpose,
It was Rick Rubin, and then he was fighting what they call the loudness war, so he blew everything out. So it just, if they had analogued it, like, I mean, it would have. There's a lot of really good songs on there, I think, but they're just not presented well, which sometimes can make or break an album. The Hardwired to Self-Destruct stuff, I dig a few of the tracks on there, but it's not like listening to Injustice for All or the Master of Puppets, where you put that on and you don't touch the skip button, like you just go done, and you let it play for the hour or whatever it plays for, and you're done.
I think weirdly, like my ears, and maybe my soul to some degree, get like kind of numb to it.
Yes.
After like 15 or 20 minutes, and I kind of just need a breather. I need to go like listen to some Beach Boys.
Well, I'm talking about
even
young
just
me,
like
though.
some.
Yeah.
And I guess that's true. Like when I was younger, I'd spin like Bush 16 Stone constantly, all the time.
Great album, though.
And it's a really dark album. Like it's a very like Oh Kill a Man, Oh Kill a Girl, or just whatever. So, like it's. But I, emotionally speaking, at the time, could...
You try to talk to people about it, and they only know the one that was on the radio, and you're like, did you listen? Oh, Machine Head is probably one of the coolest things ever. I still, to this day...
And doesn't sound like any of the rest of their catalog.
Right.
I can't even figure that out. How did they come up with this song?
It was almost like an Offspring song, to some extent. It had that riff.
It just... Just show me the settings. Show me what amp is in the settings to get like that...
Right.
Almost like Smashing Pumpkins level, just like buzz
Right.
hum. Zzz, like, it's so great.
Yeah, old 90s grunge.
Love it. But I have to imagine, being a British band, they were using British amps. There's no way.
It's probably
had to be like
Marshall
Vox or
a
something.
Vox.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Probably a Marshall with a... Well, he used to play a Stratocaster back in the day.
Which might have added to, like,
so you got a
the
Strat from
brightness
Marshall.
or something.
I
It's
mean,
just
shoot,
kinda-
half my music's done with a single coil telly.
Yeah.
And then I fatten it up with humbuckers when I need to. But, like, the majority of it, I just got that. Actually, my song Redemption was done all on that guitar right there. Which my wife bought for me for Christmas. Which
Lick that later. That's nice.
Well, I kept telling her all the time how much I wanted a double cutaway Gibson Jr., but like they're so expensive. And then I found this company that's like, dude, $150. There's nothing wrong with it. I might change the pickup later to like an actual Seymour Duncan Antiquity just to get a little bit more of that P90 sound. But other than that, I'm like, I love this guitar so much for its stuff. Like my main guitar I play all the time is this one. It's custom built. It's basically like a telly with a Stratocaster neck, and then I put one humbucker and one volume knob. Done. It's
the Courtney Love model.
There you go.
Right.
Right. I mean,
that's all I need.
I've always been a big like junior, like
the Gibsons with like 4 tone knobs. I'm just confused at this point.
Right. I don't
Why
want
can't you just give me?
Like, let me turn it down when I need to. Let me turn it up when I need to. Let me bang on it. I got it all set so I can, like... Because I wail on my guitars when I play. I mean, I don't know if you... Like, last night when you watched me play, I'm not a...
And it's acoustic.
I'm not a finesse player.
There's something about that dynamic that you just want to be louder and more powerful and have more control of the accents.
Right.
Which is so hard. Like, there's this really, I think, funny video online of John Mayer, who's... I think he's just playing like some coffee shop show or something like that, and like before he was getting ready to play a song, he wanted to explain to the crowd why acoustic's hard, and he just explained to them dynamics where he's like, and he just hits the guitar, he's like, the guitar can't be louder than that.
That's
it's not possible. So what I have to do is I have to figure out when I start playing a song, if that's the loudest I can get, what volume do I got to start at to where I can crescendo and build to the loudest it'll go. And I catch myself all the time leaning into an acoustic guitar because I didn't check that ratio very well, and I'm just trying to squeeze one more decibel out of it, and it's like, that's not how it works. You only get X out of it.
That was me the whole night last night. I kept thinking, man, my guitar sounds so dead, and I'm banging on this thing, and I'm like, it just sounded like it was just dead.
It's because I think coming out the gates, like, it was a little hot.
Right. And I was trying to...
And you, like... insecure, whatever it was, you were just like, I think I need to fix this, and the rest of the night...
It was just a shit show.
I don't think you ever realized at any point, I think it was actually fine. Yeah. Especially with the type of music I play, I just turn it back up. And just lean into the hobby. You didn't. It was like you and a ukulele up there. You're like, I don't understand why I can't feel my own music.
Ukulele, by the way. I've actually been... I bought this for my daughter for Christmas, and she hasn't picked it up once. And I said, well, fuck it, I'm going to learn. So I've been learning, like, legitly, because you got to learn.
Instrument. I think I'm irritated by the fact that the different than guitar tuning means I have to learn more chords. And in my head, I'm just like, but I already know all these chords. Right. I don't want to like,
damn it, I could just play this on guitar.
About how to play that thing.
Yep, that's exactly where I get to. I'm like, I could just pick this thing up and not that thing, and I get the same thing. I mean, I bought it for her though, but it's fun to learn something different.
So you met the guy. He got you addicted to Metallica. How did that lead to you? Because you haven't picked up a guitar at this point. This is all just a musical instrument, right?
I had
or an interest.
So my parents, after I saw Green Day, and then a handful of other bands that I wish I could remember right now. I used to have the damn flyer for the show, and they've all gotten lost over the years. But in fact, I had a shirt from the Kerplunk tour. I bought I got a shirt, and I don't have that anymore either. I wish I did. But I went home and I immediately told my parents, I'm like, I want a guitar for my birthday, for Christmas. I don't care. And they bought me this one. And well, actually, this is its replica. The original one's actually in there in pieces because it broke.
I'm sure it did.
Somebody smashed it once on stage, and it broke the neck and all that. So this was their. I'm sorry, and it got me the exact same model, exact same year. It's basically the same exact guitar. It had these like crazy PV. It's a PV Patriot. It's from the 80s. It's like a 1980. I want to say 82. I'm almost 2 years old when that guitar was made, but I love it because it's from the 80s and and this one I repainted. I mean, before I peppered them with stickers. And I had both models looking exactly the same. They were just peppered with stickers. The original is still exactly the way it was. This one I just recently went, well, I'm going to sand it down and make it look pretty. And at some point you grow out of stickers on your guitars and you're like, I'm just going to... That one, however, because I call it Harley and I painted it Harley, it's peppered in Harley. So it's the thing. But yeah, so I ended up just redoing this one. But so they bought me this and a PV Bandit 112. Those amps are so fantastic. I wish
perfect. How many watts is that? 30, 50?
100.
Was it really?
It was 100 watt with a 12-inch speaker.
You're ready to go. You're club ready.
Oh man. I mean, I wish I still had that amp because they're like coveted nowadays for their sounds.
I don't know, dude. I mean,
this little
outside
thing.
of what you thinking your speaker was blown at the show, like.
Well, but this is a digital amp. That one was like a solid state amp pretending to be a tube amp.
Oh, it had like the.
Oh, it was like this trans tube
or what? The trans tube, yeah.
And
I had one of those.
It was the first generation of them trying to do that trans tube technology.
It's kind of cool, yeah. It's got a nice crunch to it.
You knew how to dial it in right. Oh my gosh, man! They sounded like a JCM 800 or something when you really got them down to it. And oh, sorry, that's not my phone. I was just checking. No, I'm like, why is my phone going? No, I'm just making sure.
That's the
Hang on, I gotta check my thing real quick.
That's the video.
Because my sister-in-law took my...
Oh, yeah. Let's make sure
okay.
Your life is in order.
Yes. I don't know how long ago that was, but yes. Okay, sorry. My daughter's aunt is down in town, and she took my car and my daughter to go have fun. So I just had to keep checking. I want to make sure the car didn't break down or something. Sorry. We can edit that one out right Anyway, but yeah, I had my parents, they gave me this thing.
Yeah.
And then the first thing they bought me, because about the time I finally got my first guitar, Dookie had come out. And they bought me the tab book to Dookie. The tab book. I had no idea how to play guitar.
Yeah.
At all. And tab books were the greatest, I mean, for kids. I was 14 or something at the time. You could just go, oh, one finger here, one finger here, one finger here. Blang! Holy crap, I played a power chord. That's all you needed to know. It was the
original Guitar Hero. It was, I can make playing guitar palatable. Like, it's now it's almost like a video game, but not in a screen. Like, it's out here. Like, and that moment where when you form your fingers and you hit it the first time and it sounds the same as what you hear on the radio, you're like, so now all I have to do is figure out how to make what I'm doing sound like that, and I'm going to feel great. And you do.
Oh, man.
It's such a fun charge.
The first time, I think the very first chord I ever learned how to play was just a basic E chord.
Yeah.
And I twanged on that thing, and then I turned my amp all the way up, and I went wham, and the speaker hitting you in the chest, and I went...
It's Back to the Future. It's exactly what it is. It's just like
I need a Marshall amp and a 4x12. And all of a sudden, I'd hit the pinnacle of my amp, and I'm like, I'm gonna go louder. And yeah, so that's what I did.
Did you take it out to your garage and stuff? Where
they used to just let me sit in the bedroom. My parents both worked during the day.
Oh, okay.
So I had like a 2-hour window.
Nice.
And I'd sit in my bedroom, and I wouldn't turn it up super loud. Like, I had one of those really kick-ass little 3-disc CD changers.
Okay.
And I mean, speakers that were probably like, what, this tall or something.
Yeah.
And I had it sitting on my footlocker next to the window. And I would just put Dookie in, push play.
And play along with it.
Turn the amp up just loud enough so I could... And then I had a tassel that was hanging off of my fan, and I pretended it was a microphone. And I would sit there and rock out in my bedroom and sing into this tassel, because I didn't have a microphone.
Sure.
I mean, we were like just guitar players.
Yeah.
And man, I would rock out to Dookie. I would put Smash On by The Offspring, rock out to that thing, and then I think I put either Weezer's Blue Album or Everclear's...
what was it?
God,
with the kids' pictures on it. Are you talking about
the one that has Santa Monica on it? I don't remember the name of the album.
I don't remember.
We could live beside the
Sparkle?
ocean.
Sparkle and Fade?
Maybe that was it.
Whatever it was, something like that. Yeah.
But those are the three I had for a while.
Yeah.
And then every once in a while I would switch out a couple of the CDs.
Yeah.
Like then Green Day's Insomniac came out, and I'm like, oh cool, we're gonna learn that album.
Uh-huh.
That to this day, and people are gonna hate me for this, is my favorite Green Day album.
It's a great album.
Insomniac. It was the most punk thing Green Day had ever put out, and I loved it to death. And then only next to that is Warning. I love Warning more than like people understand, because it was like such a like Warning, Nimrod. I don't think Nimrod gets enough credit for what they were trying to do. Everybody's always like Dookie or American Idiot. For me personally, Insomniac, Kerplunk, Nimrod, Warning, then American Idiot, then like, you know, you start getting into like 39 Smooth or 21st Century Breakdown. Like
I mean, the same argument of like Death Magnetic. I think Kerplunk's tough for me just because it was recorded.
It's cheaply done.
Just because what else were they gonna do? Like they were a nobody band. Like this is the best you're gonna do.
$3,000 for it.
Yeah, just my ear. I'm like, meh. And
but some of the songs,
I guess maybe if Dookie didn't exist, or if there wasn't like an American Idiot
and
where I can like hear them just turned up to 11 versus like Kerplunk sounds like an album like you're just hearing through a soda can or something. Like it's so.
But when you hear those songs live, when they play them live, it's like,
yeah. Maybe that's what they should do. Like,
well, Billy's talked about. He's like, I want to re-record some of our older albums into modern fare.
Squash that. Do it as a live record.
Right.
Everyone would love that.
Oh, and they got like.
And if you re-record it, then you're Everclear. Nobody likes the fact that Everclear's greatest hits album was them re-recording all those songs. It doesn't have all the same like.
Well, yeah, there's
passion of when you were doing it back in the day.
Those things. Yeah, you're never gonna recapture.
Yeah,
which
stupid.
Is,
stupid. Don't do that.
The only time I've ever done that with some of my songs is like they've never been recorded.
Mm-hmm.
I might have wrote them 10 years ago, but they never saw the light of day. So then it's like now I have the opportunity to just go back and go, I want to put this out.
Weirdly, on some level, like when Dave Grohl did Everlong for the Greatest Hits album, he did an acoustic version of it. I was a little annoyed because I was like, why don't you just pay whatever you need to pay to get the track of when you did it the first time on Howard Stern's show and throw that on the Greatest Hits? Like when you literally said out loud, I've never done this acoustic before. Let me see what I can do here. Like, and it was just magic. It's why you've done it the way you've done it at every show ever since. Like you started clean and clear because there's something about that moment that was magic. Put that on the Greatest Hits album. People would love it.
I agree.
They played that on, if I remember right, like The Edge, even like because Howard Stern was played on The Edge at the time, so like they had that, and they would just play that thing all the time because it was so great.
Right, because he had that sense of insecurity, but also like intimate. Like I'm gonna do this thing,
and he's a producer,
right?
So he got it. Like in the moment. We were having that conversation last night about like making adjustments or just kind of being present. He just had the ability presently to like, okay, I know this feels good and I know where it should go from here, and he could just do it. And by the time he did it, Howard was just like, damn. Like, because it was
dude, absolutely. No, I still watch that on YouTube to this day. All the time when I want to be inspired, I'm like, dude, watch that. Mm-hmm. Like, even Kat, she loves the Foo Fighters, and she'd never seen that.
She's your better half. That's how that works.
No, but you're right. No, I always show her a song. I'm like, what do you think? She goes,
it's no Foo Fighters.
I said, well, all right. I'll make it better. She goes, yeah, you should probably.
I mean, the irony of my music, I think, although I don't think that I'm, to that level or anything, I think I'm constantly aiming for that, which is weird because the Foo Fighters sound as good as they do because it's Dave and Taylor and Pat and Chris. Right. And so like you get sort of all those flavors together, whereas my music is all me.
It's just you.
So I'm not like smart enough to be 5 different flavors of human.
It's exactly the same thing.
Comes out me. Right. No matter how hard I try to like write a nifty bass line or do something that makes it sound like there's more than one's brain in there, I can't. So I'm not going to achieve that.
I think that was something I was expressing to you after the last release, that I was like, it's just me in a bedroom and it's all coming. I mean, other than the drums, which I pawn off on some, and then they give me the garage band equivalent of like my idea, and then I'm like, it's good enough. I'll work with it. And then I'm like, but it's because when I had it, so Dane and I ended up becoming friends, and then we used to play these cover band shows. Like for my graduation, we played at his friend's house. He lived way out in like McDowell 107th in this like huge lot. He had like a farm, and we played his front yard. We built a stage. Went to, I don't know if you remember a place called Noteworks that used to be on Glendale Avenue in like 50. This is where I bought this guitar actually. And they would rent you PAs. I mean, but back in the day PAs, not these cool little ones you can rent nowadays that are
like 100 watts.
Like, I mean, this
4
thing
channels,
was like
Bullshit.
We would pay, I think him and I would pay $100 a piece
wow.
and rent this PA, like a PA that would like, you could do a small venue with. And we'd go out there and we got one of the kit players from our band, or high school band. He was really good. And we're like, dude, here's a list of these cover songs we're going to do. It was a mix of Megadeth and Metallica, Green Day, like all the hit bands at the time. And we'd go out and freaking play all these cover songs at the end of, and we did it, I want to say we did it 3 times. And we did a couple of them at school. Like there was a few times where at school the band director would like actually let us play like a handful of songs. Mm-hmm. I remember when the choir was doing Bohemian Rhapsody and Dane was a great guitar player too. I mean, don't get me wrong. He was good at all this stuff. I didn't know how to. I was only good at smashing. I was a drummer guitar player. I'm still a drummer guitar player. But they're like, yeah, we want that guitar solo for this. And I said, dude, here's my guitar. Go play it for him. And they're like, yeah, you're in. And so he got to play the solo off of Bohemian Rhapsody. But that's how we were like brothers, like back and forth constantly. Like, even when we started, after we both graduated, we both did a graduation show for each other. Mm-hmm. And then I went to college down at Tucson, mm-hmm. and then he was here. And then he was going to go to college at NAU, and he never did. Then when I left U of A, I came back to Phoenix, and I started going to Glendale Community College to finish. I was trying to finish up some psychology stuff. I was like, okay, I didn't want to give up on that. Mm-hmm. And so one day we crashed into each other. And at the time, I was taking not only the psychology, but I was taking studio music recording, which back in those days sucked because there was no such thing as Pro Tools. You basically were in a studio.
What year was this?
This would have been early 2000s.
There was Pro Tools.
But it was in its infancy.
Oh, yeah.
No studios really were using it yet. It was back in the days where it was patch bays. That's true. You had to sit there and go, oh, I want this effect. And you have to go AB1 to AB2.
Yeah.
And then you had the freaking mixing boards in front of you.
I guess the popularity of CDs is when digital technologies like Pro Tools became more
and
relevant.
Plus the exponentiality of digital stuff. I mean, you think about how many years ago did we not have phones, and now all of a sudden it's like, I remember a day when there was no such thing as a cell phone. You had to memorize all your friends' phone numbers, and your phone hung on a wall with a 20-foot cable so you could hide up in your bedroom and into the rotodials. You'd go around the hallway in your bedroom to talk, and you had to have this 50-foot long cable.
The cable going under your closed bedroom door.
Right, you'd be up in back in the
You hope you have a phone where the hang-up's right here so somebody can't hang up on you out there.
You'd be listening for your parents to pick up to listen to what you're talking to. These kids have no idea the hell that we had to go through. Even dialing the internet, for God's sakes. You'd get up at 10 o'clock at night and be like, and the modems, and you were like, you had to have 2 phone numbers when you wanted to use the internet because people would try to call the house and it would be a busy signal because you'd be on the internet, and they're like, well, I can never get through to your house because Jeremy's always on the damn internet. You had to dial up
AOL or whatever nonsense you had to get.
The struggles we went through. But think about how exponentially, the same goes, I have a built-in recording studio right here. Mm-hmm. Between this little box and this thing, I can do what studios, 15 years ago couldn't even make sound as good. Right. Now I can do it right here with a pair of headphones and a couple old 80s speakers, and I go out to the car and listen to it, because everybody's got their EQs all set differently. You want to make sure it's got this really flat level on it, and so we got out of high school, we met each other back in college again, and it was about, I remember it was about when Warning came out. Mm-hmm. And I was listening to Warning a lot in the car driving to school, and I was like, dude, you should come over and jam with me again in my garage. I was like, at the time I was I was with my parents up in 75th in Deer Valley, and I live in this little neighborhood. I got this cool freaking garage, and so he actually came and we started rekindling that friendship again and started playing. And then I was I had this brilliant idea because I had this I started watching a lot of anime at the time, I guess, really crazy anime. They always had this really kind of cool vibe of metal music mixed with dance music, and I always thought that was a really cool idea to mix rock and roll with stuff you could play in a club. Because I have a lot of like closet loves, but I also grew up with my other best friend. His name's Gary. We used to spend every weekend staying the night at his house, eating Little Caesars pizza, drinking Jolt Cola, getting on our internets, but he would put on Power 92. I don't know if you remember what Power back in the. I mean, you're talking like the old school R&B music that was like
top 40s. Yeah,
just so. Sure. But that, and then we'd be listening to like pre-gangster rap R&B, which a lot of people don't like. It's from the 80s, and they're like, "Oh, that's not good music." I'm like, but the beats and the way they were making them,
like Run DMC and stuff.
DMC. I mean, I'm gonna really go really cheesy, but like CNC Music Factory. I liked a lot of what Hammer was doing, like MC Hammer. I was a sucker for it. Like,
you got to pray.
But what I was drawn to though was the beats. I liked how they were like working out these really cool drum sequences that were not live drummers. You could tell it was like digital. Like, I always thought that would be fun and like.
So I mean, by the time like 9 Inch Nails came,
dude, I was so in love with that.
Jesus,
right? And that's 9 Inch Nails actually opened the door to me to get into industrial metal, like Fear Factory, and like, oh man, I was like. Stuff you heard on video games all of a sudden, I kept going, that's what I want to do, but I want to make it so you can go into a club and dance to it at the same time. Like, I love the grittiness of like that kind of like mix of music that should have never been together, but how it worked so well. And I always kept thinking, and then I found Static X, and they did that kind of.
Yeah.
He even called himself Evil Disco, where they had that like vibe where you want to just do this while you're listening to it, but you're like, this is really heavy though.
Yeah.
And he had that voice that I wish I could like that
that like Pantera thing where it's like it's melodic, but it's melodic. Just trash.
It sounds like he had glass in his throat.
Yeah.
But he was still singing though, and I'm just
now that I've never even thought about it until this moment, but it's almost like Rob Zombie is a more palatable Static X.
Right. He was. Absolutely.
Saying a little bit more sing-songy,
right.
And his songs were a little bit more melodically rich, whereas Static X was just like, no, we're going to play in drop C, and we're just going to
go.
Just palm me.
Actually, Wayne played in full C,
like, did he?
They didn't play, he used to make a big thing about, I'm not cheating and just going to one-finger bar chords. They tuned their guitars fully down to C, and then played all the way through, like, for reals.
That's interesting. I've only seen him once, and it was like nosebleeds at Ozfest, and it was
right.
It was a great moment for me because I think they followed this band, this like Swedish band called Lordi, something like that, that like got almost booed off the stage. Like everybody was just there was this moment actually where like the whole crowd, just to send a message, turned their back on the stage. Like they're like, we're not even gonna keep watching this. So Lord gets off the stage, and they had so much. Just like props and all this crap that once they cleaned the stage off, they set up Static X and Static X didn't have anything. And it was like maybe 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock to where I don't remember. Like the sun was still up. Like they weren't even, they were early enough. Like, I don't think the sun started to go down to like Lamb of God, which was right before Ozzy. So like the sun was still up and they set up Static X just kind of in the middle of this stage that just a minute ago was just full of all this bullshit for this other band.
Right.
And they start playing, and there's not even, because it's daytime, so you can't even really play around with lights or anything. Like, there's nothing. They start playing, and they just dominated with just 4 dudes on a stage. Like, they just tore the crowd to pieces with this amazing music. And it was such a lesson for me, because I knew, like, Loser and stuff from high school and from like KUPD and what have you.
Right.
So when they played that song, I was like, oh, I know who this is. But even before I really knew who it was, I feel like I kind of had to turn to someone and be like, who is this? Because they were just insane. And his voice was just so like growly and horrible. I mean, again, he was like that big on the stage.
Right.
So there was little that I could really like make out about it. But how a band didn't need frills to electrify an audience. Like, that's how great their music was. I don't even think they had backing tracks. I'm not even sure they were using the production of their albums where there's, like, you know, drops and there's all sorts of little stuff that kind of just makes it, I don't know, interesting. Like, it was just them playing it live.
Yeah, they would definitely in the later day, like they would have all the techno-y aspects because they would just be 2 guitar players, a bass player, and a drummer, and then they would have a guy that would like they have in-ear monitors, and he basically like push play on the next song. Sure. So if like it had like the drummer would be like listening in and playing along to the track, and then but so that way when they stopped playing and there was all that little it would match the sync of the but it was like I'm like that's what I want to go to clubs though and like strip bars and like fucking drop this music and like have naked women dancing to it and like you know like I don't know, I always like had these major aspirations as younger that they were just stupid, you know. Stupid 20-year-old boy thoughts. Like you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna own a strip club, but I'm gonna.
Call it stupid 20-year-old boy thoughts. Rob Zombie did it. Everything you're describing.
Yeah, I'm sure
he made it happen, and he's been successful.
But he also had the money to do it with, though.
I guess. My assumption is what he did is he got like to a point with his own capital, and then he just started taking meetings, and going in and talking to like production companies and record labels and being like, here's what I've got so far with like White Zombie and stuff.
I was a big fan of that.
Here's what I want to do. Give me money and I'll do it. And that's where you and I like, I think, aren't living our dreams to the greatest capacity because the one thing we're missing out on is there's no way we can do it on our own.
No.
We have to have like a backer. And on top of that, we have to have a backer and we have to, I guess, possess the ego to be able to like make their money back.
Right.
So the assumption is, okay, fine, you're going to give us the money to actually do this thing. Well, now we got to put butts in seats. We got to figure out like how to get the word out that this thing even exists, and then
like I always
basically kill ourselves on tour, like promoting the thing.
I had this brilliant idea always to have this venue that was going to be a music venue that could be either all ages or 21 and plus. It could be like have go-go girls or something in it on random nights. But then off to the side, there was going to be practice spaces that I could rent out to bands. And then on the other side would be a recording studio that when bands wanted to record, they could just shoot down the other side of the hall and go, hey, you got a minute? We just did this song. Can we plug all this in and like bang this out for like $100 or something, you know, and like give us a demo. And they could do it all in-house. And then they could also play the venue on top of it when they wanted to, but then also have, you know, touring acts or like make the venue awesome enough where it's like, but then you'd have all these green rooms and practice spaces set up and like, you know, there would be like a full-on studio, which you could also incorporate into the venue and have live recordings of your shows when you wanted to. And, you know, pay me $100, I'll make you a CD of your live recording or something, you know, like I always wanted to do something like that. And then just, it was such, I always have these like, too much, you bite off too much and then there's no way you can get there. You have to do it slowly. And I'm always here where it's like you got to take these baby steps. And I'm always thinking like way up here. And I need that other person that comes in and goes, well, I like your idea, but let's do this and then let's do this and let's do this and let's do this. So I don't function well. I always have these like, I'm always in the comic book like realm of like, boom, this is the way it's gonna go. And then I don't have that. Then reality hits, and you're like, "There's no way that would ever happen." Like that, you have to build it, and then.
Can you let go of ideas easily, or do you find yourself relatively like unsatisfied by the fact that you're like, "Man, I don't like that I live the life that I do because I had all these ideas and they didn't happen, and I'm frustrated with myself."
Oh, no. I just go, it was a good idea. People have tried it. There was a couple other venues that tried the same thing when I was playing in a band back in the Ad Nauseam days. They had a practice space tacked onto a venue that would record your live shows. And then if you wanted to record, you had to do it. It wasn't like a recording studio, but they would record you playing like a demo or something. But it would be in the live room. And but the only problem is they didn't have a 21 plus venue. So it was, and they would only serve you like juices and muffins and stuff, you know, and then you're inviting like these punk bands to show up and like play, and it's like, where's the beer, man? And they're like, no, you can't drink in here, you know. And they only,
which on some level, alcohol always ends in destruction.
Exactly.
So like, why would a venue want to open themselves up? Have it was recording with all this like higher capacity? Like, why would you want to invite the party in to like just trash the place?
Well, because it was decent. I mean, because they would have been able. The problem was the venue was in an old church, and the stage they gave you, the stage that they gave you was like a 6-tiered cake thing. So your drummer would be way the fuck up here, and then you have these two flat spots where the two pulpits would have been that you could actually stand without dying. And I played the venue probably about 3 times, and it was right when I got my first Gretsch, and I was terrified of tripping and falling down the damn stair, because the stairs, I mean, were like this, and they go, I mean, and your crowd is like, you know, sitting where the pulpits would be or whatever, and you're just like, hi everybody, and you're like way up here, and then your drummer's like way up there, and it was just a bad. They should have torn it all out and built a stage, like a real honest to God stage. It would have been better. And I didn't mind that. I mean, the no alcohol thing was fine, because it was like one of the only few places actually in town at the time where kids could actually go and see. And it was like down on like 67th Avenue, Glendale, which is another big problem, is that like West Valley, you're not going to draw people. Like, nobody wants to come out here and see a show ever. I have watched venues get started, thrive for like 2 weeks, and die horrible deaths out here because all you get is the barflies that'll come. Mm-hmm. Whereas like in Tempe and all that, you get all the call. You know, there's a scene. Yeah. And you'll get people to come out there. I mean, hell, you get people from out here to drive out there. I mean, I do it all the time. But out here, it's like you can't get those people to come out here. Yeah. It's like damn near next to impossible. Mm-hmm. So and they were in the West Valley, and it just. And that kind of like meant, well, that was a great idea, but I'm glad I didn't do it because, damn, that would have been a big waste of money. Like, nobody would have cared. Maybe out there. Like, there used to be was it the Big Fish Pub out there? And then right next to them was a storage unit place that they used to rent. Well, the storage unit would rent storage spaces to bands to play in. In fact, my first practice space was a storage unit. Mm-hmm. And like 90% of the bands that would play at the Big Fish Pub all the time were in those storage units. I mean, hell, half the bands back in my day when I was growing up that I used to adore to death, like October and Four Banger and I'm drawing blanks, but there was that big circle of bands that used to play all the time of that heat. Spindle and yeah, I mean they almost all of them had their practice space right next to the Big Fish Pub out there. That's interesting. And my practice space was on 19th Avenue in Encanto in a storage unit that I was terrified to leave at night from. You know, like you're leaving all your gear in this space with this little lock on. Or like you'd be in there playing and I was always afraid somebody was going to come lock the door on us while you're in there. Like, 'cause, you know, like, it's like you're always so worried. And then that was our very first, so Dane and I started programming with drum machines, and then we did this like techno metal project for a little bit. And there was a few nights we actually got invited and played Joe's Grotto. And we played a few open mic nights there. And then one of the guys from KUPD was one of the DJs caught us. Like, you know, like, dude, you're just a 2-man band in a little box like this. And I'm like, yeah. It was like, he's like, dude, you guys are so much better than like some bands with like 6 members that like try to do the same thing you guys are doing. And I'm like, we just programmed dance music into, you know, and we were playing. It was very Static X rip-off kind of. That song I sent you the other day was actually one of the products of that thing. It was, I mean, we actually went to, there's a place called Fulwell Studios. It's right next to the Coliseum. There's this kick-ass dude. It reminds me of, like, Marty Freeman or something from Megadeth, that he's got the big 80s hair and he has this whole big ass studio and he'd record to ADAT and like still to tape and all that, and it was like half digital, half analog still back in those days. I mean, he had a studio full of every amp you would ever want to like dream of playing through, and a rack of guitars. Like, and I just went in there and I brought my shitty little Line 6 digital amp and my, you know, and I'm like, no, I'm gonna play through this. It's cool. And he's like, dude, you should play through that. I'm like, no, I'm gonna play through this. It's cool, because I had to have this like certain sound and I just couldn't get it from a tube amp. But we spent like $200 in like a week there recording this little crappy demo that was like 6 songs or something. And then eventually we found a guy that wanted to play drums with us. But the thing was, what we were doing wasn't drummer oriented. You couldn't have a drummer do it because we were playing with drum machines. I mean, it was so programmed and like, it was like, good luck, you know? So at that point, I started saying, well, shoot, we could always do that project as a side thing or a second project. But if we have a real live drummer, I can start writing like songs he could play along to. And so that's what got me started into writing the more what you hear now. Like that's where I kind of went down that path. And the very first song I wrote was a song called Adrian. It was about this girl that I was like chit-chatting with on what was it? AOL Instant Messenger back in the days.
Do you remember your name?
It's Brain Stews. Just
Was
like
it
all
really?
my stuff still to this day.
So good.
My name is my Hotmail, my Gmail, everything is Brain Stews. The only thing that's not is I kind of switched things to Planet Jackers at one point, which is an Invader Zim reference. Which was an episode called Planet Jackers where the guys stole the Earth. And,
got it.
I'm a big Jonan Vasquez fan. I love Johnny the Homicidal Maniac and Invader Zim and Squee. I mean,
I hope people that are listening to this that have any idea what you're talking about
Invader
will
Zim,
message you.
It was
like,
a
dude, I love
show,
that.
and it was on Nickelodeon. And I don't know how they got away with it, but it's freaking hilarious.
Yeah.
So a lot, and in fact, a lot of our first album as Ad Nauseam, a lot of my songs, there was a song called Moosey Fate, which is an Invader Zim reference. Planet Jackers, I have a song called Planet Jackers that was an Invader Zim reference. There was a song called Two Words More Puppets, which is an Invader Zim reference. But the songs had nothing to do with Invader Zim. Diet Poop. There's a song I have called, because they used to have Diet Cola or Poop Cola in Invader Zim, and then they were like, do you want Poop Cola? Extra free poop cola, diet poop, and I thought it was the stupidest. Like, the show's the stupidest thing in the world, but it's
like the Rick and Morty of its day.
Oh yeah. Well, Rick and Morty is so much more funnier though. If you ask me, I cannot not watch that show. I would sit here with Kathy.
I've tried. I just can't.
I don't know.
Figure it out.
That makes sense though. It's not for everybody.
It's kind of It's different.
I watched 10 seconds of the first episode, and I went and got all 3 seasons, and I went, and I have not stopped watching it. Like, I can't. I don't know. I find it, but I find humor in things that other people don't find humor in. So
I feel like out of the cool gang, because all the people that I talk to that like love it are really smart and like quick people, and I'm like, what in the fuck am I missing in this show? All these people get this. Why am I not getting these?
Did you watch a lot of Star Trek growing up as a kid?
Yeah.
Back to the Future?
But, I mean, mostly, like, just my dad was watching it, so I was watching it. But Next Generation, not like...
Oh, dude.
Not like William Shatner Star Trek.
I hate to rag on you old people, but Next Generation was...
Bomb.
The shit.
Bomb. Yeah.
I mean, I love the original series for its quirks and great episodes, but man, did the Next Generation just kill it. Like, that's my...
Way too many great characters. Like Riker and Worf and Geordi
and you
Data
cared about them all.
Yeah.
Like, you genuinely were like...
Yeah.
Like, when that last movie, when they blew Data up, I was like, you bastards! I about walked out
You killed Kenny!
Right.
You bastards!
No! Why couldn't you just kill the captain? He's old. He's done his duty.
I feel like as much as I love the character of Data, like, to see the actor do other things blows my brain. Because I'm like,
Biner's
he's
funny.
That good. Like, I could see him, and I like what he's doing, but I'm like, wait a minute, that's Data.
Right.
Like, that's so good.
And the guy is, I mean, witty as hell funny.
Like, I hear he, like, crushes at, like, Comic-Con and stuff. Like, he's really sweet.
Absolutely.
And really
he does great impressions of all the other guys. He's got a really good Patrick Stewart impression that he does that is just fantastic. And I'm like, yes. I mean, even freaking Mr. Wheaton is like, dude, Spiner is the bomb. Like, you can't...
Will's fun to listen to tell stories, but I'm like, Will Wheaton as a human being is super interesting to me. He's just a guy.
Right.
Good.
Now he hosts the silly thing on the YouTubes, because now they have the Picard show. So he does the recap. Like,
oh, okay.
And he has guests from... It's on the CBS YouTube page, and I've tried to catch a couple of it, and then he's always, like, talking to...
He went on the Nerdist podcast, like, forever ago.
He used to have that cool
I think he was talking at the time about doing a show about tabletop games.
Yeah, and he did it.
I never saw it, but listening to him talk about it, I'm like, I would love to see this show.
Dude,
I need to, like, track it down.
It's still on there. Just look up tabletop games on it was on what used to be called... It wasn't the Nerdist at the time, though. It was like Geek and something.
Oh, wow.
But for like 3 years, he would sit there. They built a special like game table that like leaned like this so that they could show it on the camera, and they would invite people to come. I mean, hell, it's up there. They did a great episode there where they played Star Trek Catan, and they had Jerry Ryan. They had and then they had 2 other people that weren't very like one of the writers or something. But they also. But, I mean, it was just the show was fantastic because he would have all these great, like, they did a Star Wars one where they were doing, I don't know what the stupid game is, but you have the little pieces and then you put the little pieces of cardboard down and you can move them like that. They're way over my head. Yeah. But he had Seth Green and his wife on, and I was like, holy crap. And it was funny. I mean, and they drop these, and then they have a censored, like, for time constraint for YouTube, and then later they'll release the entire 2-hour like filming and shows all the jokes and all the stops. They like when somebody fucks up the game and they're like, we have to reset the game because you made a wrong move, you broke the rules, and they're like, what? And then they're like the banters that go. I mean, it was such a good show. I don't know why he ever stopped doing it, but man, I loved that show too.
I mean, it's super niche. Like there's only
I mean, you
generationally
have to like to play,
speaking, you'd have to.
You have to like to play board games.
Grow up with the tabletop.
Kids these days.
The
only thing I can barely get my daughter to play is we play Pokemon cards against each other. Which she likes to play Pokemon, which fun. I try to teach her. Like I'm trying to teach her strategy games. Like she won't play chess with me, but I'm like, dude, chess is like one of the best. Like once you figure out the math, it's like you're basically playing 2 mathematicians against each other at some point. And I grew up like. My uncle used to make us play like Stratego and Risk, and we used to play this like Civil War kind of game where you like move people. It was very much like Risk though. My uncle was really cool when I was growing up because he would be the kind of guy he'd take us out to Camelback Mountain and go hiking all day, and then he'd take us to this old store that used to be here in Phoenix called Pick and Save or something like that. And when he'd get there, we'd pull up and he'd go, "All right, everybody, pick it and save it." And then we get out of the car and go in there, and he'd buy us each a bag of Army Men and a freaking bag of rubber bands. And then we'd go back to the house, and we'd all set up our armies, and you'd have like rubber band wars with the the little Army Men and like freaking. I mean, who does that anymore? I mean, the kids now you just sit there and put on a machine and go play Halo. You know, like if I want to play war, I'll go play Halo. Like you guys had no idea the enjoyment that we got out of. Being like, oh, I'm gonna take out your general, ping, like it was so much fun. Like I don't know. But anyway, so we moved on. I know. I
love it. So we're in and we got to where I wanted to get to, which was
the first iteration of. We used to call ourselves Anomaly. The first iteration.
Okay.
When it was just Dame and I. We called ourselves Anomaly, but then we found out really fast there was like 6 bands that had the name. So we were like. Because we were like an anomaly in the music industry. Like, nobody in town was doing what we were doing. We had this drum machine, and it was a bass player and a guitar player. And I was playing freaking ESP Explorers, like, back in the day, and Flying V's, which I missed that guitar to death, by the way. And, but then we got the drummer, and he just couldn't do what we were doing. So I was like, well, let's just do another project. Like, we could make this one a little more catchy and a little more rock and roll and, with a real drummer. I mean, we'll get shows easier this way because back in the days you went to what was called the Mason Jar and you were like, hey, we want to play a show. They'd be like, well, cool, what kind of music do you play? And you're like, oh, it's just me and a bass player and a drum machine. They were like, yeah. No. Like,
it's like early Ween where you're just like, what?
Right. Nobody would have got. They're like, no. That's cute, like that's how it was, and you're like. I
mean, irony being, there are people to this day that'll be like, "Why don't you just like have a backing track and you should play your stuff?" I'm like, "Have you heard my albums?
It's more
because
acceptable.
That doesn't work. Like, it would look stupid." Like,
I get you. No, I have genuinely actually thought of doing the very same thing, just taking the guitars out of my tracks.
I mean, if I'm like Kelly Clarkson, fine, right? But me playing a guitar when there's no other band on stage. The energy doesn't translate. Like, why would that
Who's the guy?
be cool?
You've ever seen Paige the Village Idiot?
I have seen him, but that's different.
But I mean, that's the same vibe I'm going
comic.
For. Right, but he makes it funny. But he has all his stuff programmed, and he plays.
Yeah, and
I'm thinking along the same lines.
But it's a totally like me taking myself seriously and being like, no, I'm like,
well, not with what you've done already.
I am the Foo Fighters.
No,
like that's what I am. Like
right.
you
need a band.
I'm playing my songs very earnestly.
Right.
Page, what he does doesn't work for what I would do. So it does. I can't like to play the backing track. What am I filter? Like
right.
I can't know.
No, do a fun side project just for fun and do it. That's what I want to do. Just for fun. I would call it something complete. I would not call it Evening the Score, or I would just.
I don't think me as like an entertainer,
nah.
as an artist, I don't think that I would enjoy.
I get you.
That vibe. I don't think a crowd would want to see that.
I like to be on stage with a band too.
Page is good when he's on the bill with other people. Like, has the guy ever just like done a show himself? No, because he's kind of like comic relief / like mind blowing, where it's just like this guy's great. What is he doing?
Well, he always gets stuck at the end of the sets too, where it's like everybody's 6 whiskey shots fun. In, and he jokes in the Fanny Pack song, man.
It's great stuff, but it's
not for you.
Like,
I get you.
And I think he knows that. I think he's fine with like his position. And me, I'm like, no, I want to see like how. I want to see if I take it seriously. If opportunities come from taking what you do and taking yourself seriously. Okay. And if they don't, well, then I guess I'll just be a bitter old man from all the things that I never got to do because I took it too seriously. But something about like when I just look around at like Aerosmith. Why does Aerosmith not form bands on stage like Green Day? Because Aerosmith takes itself very seriously. And as a result, the performance has. But
hey, Dave Grohl does bring people up on stage to play with them.
Yes. And then the minute the song's over, he's like, get the fuck off my stage. Well, because he's very protective of like his power.
There you go. Have a nice day.
But I agree with you, but Billy's also. Like,
he gives away guitars.
At that show, one of the funniest things I ever saw was, I think somebody was like trying to talk shit at him from the crowd to the stage. I don't remember exactly what he said, but it was somewhere along the lines of he's just like, dude, there's like 500 people around you right now that'll kick the shit out of you if you don't shut the fuck up. Right. This is my show. like,
right.
And just that he knows these are my people.
Right.
You don't understand. You're talking shit around a bunch of people that I don't need. I could come down there and beat the hell out of you.
Oh,
but there's like you're surrounded by people that would gladly do that for me. Fuck you.
The Insomniac tour, they played Mesa Amphitheater, and they were in the middle of a song, and somebody threw their boot on stage, and it hit Mike square in the nose.
Jesus. Why is he always getting these? Like
poor damn nose too.
The Woodstock thing where he knocked his teeth out. Yeah.
Or they had this MTV concert where he went to jump and he smashed his mouth or his nose onto the bass, and he was like, they were playing I don't even remember what song, but he's sitting there playing and like blood is just pouring out, and he just kept going, and Billy just kept going, and then he gets done, and Mike's like trying to talk to Billy. He comes over and tries to talk to him, and Billy's like, what? Oh my God! Here's a beer. Put it on your nose. Like, it's the funniest thing. But in the Insomniac tour at Mesa Amphitheater, I'm almost certain when Mike got hit in the face with the shoe, I remember he threw his guitar off in the middle of a song, because then Mike was like instantly stopped. He picked the shoe up and he was like, who the fuck threw the shoe? Who the fuck threw the shoe? And then he like jumped into the crowd to beat the crap out of the guy. And they grabbed him back out of the stage, and that was it. That was the end of the show. Like he just cut it off and went home. Like,
and Billy Joe was like 5'5". Like he's not.
Oh yeah. I'm 5'9", and he was like this to me, and I was like, damn, you are small, man. I'm like standing next to the guy, and you don't realize it because they're always on stage. They're always just like huge.
He's larger than life, but he's a little
I'm
boy.
probably more on height with like Mike. I think him and I are about the same height, but like,
that's impressive.
But like Billy's, man, yeah. But But at the same time, I get where you're coming from. Like, I'm such a music whore, though. I love doing.
Maybe the truth is, I just enjoy it more when it's like super serious. Like, last night, as an example, if we're using your set from last night.
Oh God!
I think part of the charm of what was happening there is I think you were having more fun just being funny with people that came to like just enjoy you. I don't think it bothered you as much that like you weren't, getting through all of your songs perfectly and stuff. I think you were just having a good time. And I've been there too, where sometimes I just like being a comedian and just like helping people enjoy what's happening.
Right.
Me, I like those times too, but I much prefer like the emotional resonance of just really, 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 yeah, go for it. Really like connecting to a crowd.
Right.
So as a result of that, in connection to that, I'm not sure exactly how to say it, but like I purposely take what I do very seriously. Generally speaking, I won't even talk a lot before a song. I'm not going to sit there and tell you a whole story about where the song came from.
Right.
Because the truth is, it might connect with you in ways that have nothing to do with why I wrote the song. And I would very much rather just you have your own experience. Right. So I'm just going to kind of go into it and let you have whatever you have. But at the same time, I do also like joking around with crowds. And I like banter between songs, and I like all of that. But that takes a huge backseat to me, to you taking this song seriously, because there's just not a song that I've written that I just don't mean with my entire soul. Like, none of them are throwaway to me. They're all... I wrote them about, like, a pain or a frustration or a confusion or something.
Man. Right. I know, completely. And I feel the same. Like, I want people to... The problem is I want people to read my lyrics more than listen to the song, I guess.
That's interesting.
Like,
based on that, you know what we should start doing for your shows? We should start having like a projector set up.
Maybe.
With like
I should have brought lyrics last night too. But, you know, lesson learned last night. I can't remember lyrics for the life of me anymore. Well, to be honest with you, I had not picked up a guitar and seriously played since I think the show I played with you with Idiotkin. Because I started doing the album and started doing Ross's other thing, and then and then you came over and you did your vocals, and it was just like every time I was like, I pick up my guitar, like I got that guitar, I think I played it a handful, like I just, for old time's sakes, I threw on a Green Day record, and just, I think that thing's actually still tuned to E. All my guitars, they're all tuned to D. I play in D tuning, by the way, which is silly, but Adam doesn't understand.
Just a different...
But like... I like having that.
Live your life.
I like having that one extra low note. It's like going to 11, only I'm going lower.
Mm-hmm. I mean, my guitar, I can play a D chord.
I know, but I like guitar. A low.
I've got
D
chord. Too.
But see, when I play a D chord, it's a C chord. No, I'm trying to do a Spinal Tap moment.
Right. And it's.
But see, to me though, so to explain to you the difference though is like when you're playing your open chords. Mm-hmm. When you're playing what would be a D chord, now it's a C chord on mine. I got that one lower.
Yeah.
So when I'm playing an E, it's a D. It's one step.
Which is why last night you were like transposing 2 or 3 different songs.
I had to go,
like,
oh
how
shit.
The fuck do I play this song on this guitar?
I had the damn capo sitting in my case too, and I'm like, I could have just capoed it off, and boom, I would have been an E. And think things through all the way. I'm a very live in the moment kind of human being, so like I don't think about like what's gonna happen. Like I
stress when it comes to planning.
Right.
Things. Yeah. Really.
Well, I was stressing all week about us, but I kept going, I'm going to practice, and you're like, we're going to do it next week, and it's cool. And I'm like, oh, cool. And then I just put it off. And then you're like, we're going to do it next week. And I'm like, oh, cool. And I just put it off again. And then I'm like...
Little on me. I get that.
No. But like,
that's fair.
Legitly on me, though, like, I was just like, I had 3 weeks to get really good and have a great show. And instead I just went... I'm going to do these things instead.
I mean, the truth about it is, I also didn't prep moving up to that show because what I wanted to do was take a very basic evening the score set list that I already had from back in the time in Gotham when I was really trying to play my music and trying not to just play covers the whole time, which is super easy for me. I was like, I'm going to just start with this list. I'm going to start with the one song that I know I'm going to open with. And I'm just going to try to feel out what would work best coming next. And I'm just going to pay attention to the clock. Like, how much time do I actually have? And I'm going to try to lean into, like, the hits. I'm going to try to really just be like, okay, these are the songs that I know are great. So I'm just going to fill, half an hour, 40-minute set with them. And what I learned, in that I was pretty close to an hour. By the time you showed up, I'm like, there's a lot of songs. I really need to, like, take some time this week and trim and button it down and be like, what do I really want to play? And not just sit here and... But I mean, I'm at the end of the thing too, so it's also like, I guess I have all the time in the world. I could just play whatever I feel like.
Thursday night, what do we get? Like a half an hour each?
You do, but I'm at the end.
Well,
there's no one after
you can play as long as
so
you
I'm technically...
Hell yeah, dude.
Outside of the fact nobody's probably going to be there, but it's going to be going home by then. I don't know.
I'll be there all night, Adam, so...
You got to get home, though, at some point. Like, it's going to be a late night. I go on almost 10 o'clock. With the way usually the sets go, it's going to be late as balls. I don't even want to be up that late. I got to work the next day. Like,
I know. I'm surprised.
It's mildly annoying. I don't. When he said that, I was just like, I get your point. I love you. I'll do it. But in my mind, I'm just like, I'm gonna hate the next morning.
It's funny how nobody wants to play at the end anymore nowadays. Because like,
I'm fine with it on a Friday night, on a Saturday night, like when it's just like people are probably still gonna be there because everybody's just like, yeah, the show's still going. On a Thursday,
yeah, you're like,
that's not the slot you want to get. So I'm fine. I don't care.
I'll trade you. Nobody wants to hear me anyway.
That's not true. Especially after Gotham. They're like, we want to hear Jeremy do this well.
We're going to watch that train wreck happen all over. I told Cassie last night, I was like the Titanic, only instead of hitting an iceberg, I just crashed into all of San Francisco and caught it on fire and burned the whole thing to the ground. And the boat just kept going and then it exploded. And then I came walking out of the fire going, hey, the train stopped running. I think I'll be okay now. That was last night.
Kind of.
It was alright, though.
It was fine.
I'll be back.
That's the beauty of Gotham. Like, no one's... I
only pissed off the one guy, so that's pretty good. I called
and even I would have pissed him off. Like, he was just going to a bar to get drunk because he hated his life. Like, you didn't fail anybody. Like, no, there's no expectations. It's the beauty of Gotham. I can get out there and suck for 2 straight hours. Who cares?
Right.
Nobody will put money in my till, and I'll break down my equipment and go home. It doesn't matter.
I think that was the fun of it. It was like, I wasn't used to being so exposed. I think. No, like, I'm used to being in a bar in a contained atmosphere with, I already know the people that are drinking, or I've seen the people in there. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be on stage. I know there's not going to be anything going on back here. Like, there's lights, there's the sound guys, there's the 2 people watching me play, and then the 6 drinkers. Like, I'm used to that. Yeah. I mean, when Dane and I started playing out, I mean, even at Joe's Grotto, it was, you were on a stage, there's the guys, you mingled, you know most of the people, you get up to play, you're playing for those people. Mm-hmm. Gotham, I think, was a little crazy because my brain is, like, so scattered. Every little, like, outside thing was, like, I'm like a puppy dog, you know? All of a sudden I'm like, whoa, what's that? Oh, wait, I was playing a song. What was that? You know, like, I'm like, there's a train going by.
Which is also kind of interesting because to me, music, there's something really soothing about being locked in to kind of a puzzle that takes 4 minutes to put together. Right. And so I get very perturbed when anything disturbs the puzzle to the point that like the level of focus once I've started a song. I've played at parties where somebody's like, by played, I just mean there was a guitar there and somebody's like, hey, Adam, play some songs. I'm like, whatever. And I'll sit down and they'll be like, play this one. And I'll start playing it. 30 seconds in, they lose interest and they're somewhere else. I won't stop. Gotcha. Because I just need to, like, complete the puzzle or something.
I think a lot of it draws from when I started playing clubs or shows back in the days is that I started getting to that point where... So I'm going to skip ahead. So we had a drummer. Mm-hmm. And we played some shows for all. We actually played the Mason Jar once, which I was really proud of. It was like the biggest show we ever had, and I have it on VHS cassette tapes. I have it put away somewhere. And it was, I'm going to tell you this joke. It was right after when the band Great White was playing in LA, and they lit the bar on fire, and like people died. Oh wow! And then I walked out, and we had changed our name to Ad Nauseam at that point. And the first thing I said is like, hey, we're Ad Nauseam, and we promise not to burn the bar down. And people were like, oh, shit. Like, I was like, oh, that was a bad joke. I shouldn't have said that. I mean, it was literally like 2 days after it happened. Because I was like telling them we were going to have pyrotechnics and all this crap. And people, they don't, sense of humor. Remember we were talking about earlier, like people were like, and it was packed, though. I mean, and Mason Jar was packed. I mean, I had half of my family and like friends, and like this is my first big show, and that was how.
But at the same time, having not been there and having not lived through the whole fire and things, like the thing about shock value is if you're gutsy enough to say something with high shock value, all you really get to do at that point is see how it's received.
Right.
And if they don't think it's funny...
Half the room laughed.
On some level...
Half the room
not their fault. Because the thing is,
you're
purposely saying something with a high level of shock value, and thinking, oh, but I'm a harmless musician, it's fine, it'll be funny, right? Whereas
No,
you say
no.
people died.
Well, I didn't say that. No, I just said we
I thought you
promised
said people
not.
died.
In
the fire.
Some people did die in that fire, but
Right.
see, not a lot of people knew about the event. So at the same time, because at the like people don't pay attention to news like about a band that like lit a.
And yet
club.
you said the joke, and half the crowd was
But
offended.
some of the crowd that actually knew what I was talking about were the ones you could hear go, oh, and the other half were laughing, like, because they thought, oh, you're not going to... All I said was, we promised not to burn the place down. That was all I said. Like, it was ambiguous, like,
It wasn't ambiguous.
It could mean anything.
Somebody literally just burned the
somebody
place
in the
down.
back is going, oh. You can hear it in the video, it's funny. But everybody else was laughing, and they thought it was great. I didn't care. I that's my sense of humor though. I don't care. I don't want a laugh, and I don't you could punch me for it.
Now we have to dig deeper into comedy, because
Let's go for it.
it's not possible that you would say something like that without the intention to get a laugh.
But I don't care. That's the thing.
Yeah, but think about it, Jeremy.
But
think
I
about
don't
it.
care.
Think about it.
I don't care if people
Your
laugh or not.
motivations to say that at all, your intentions.
It
Your
was-
intention
I will explain it to
is
you
that you will
because
get a laugh.
We had a meeting in the back, and the three of us went, how do we get on stage and put our dick on the table?
What does that even mean?
Like, because you want to make you want people to, no matter how you get their attention, you want people to turn and listen to the very first song you're about to play, right? Even, because most people are busy.
You know the song itself is supposed to do that, right?
It's supposed to.
You just start
but
playing the song,
nine
and
times
it's
out of
great
10,
enough that
people are
people
standing
turn.
back there drinking and chatting. I mean, they're all talking, and you start playing, and people don't even care. They just carry on and keep talking. But you say something that makes the entire room go, and then you kick into a song, their next thing isn't going back to talking. It's going, hey, I got to listen to this song for a minute, because now you just took the entire room and made them look at you. You know what I mean?
I'm trying to think of a successful example of
It's
that
not.
in the history of
It's
performance.
not. It was my first... that's why I'm trying to put it in perspective. It was my first... It was not. Well,
but if there isn't a
but-
successful example of
but
it,
it was successful.
what would have
though, actually,
motivated you to do
because
it?
At that point, the whole crowd actually surged forward and listened to us play, and we played our crappy little set all the way through. I mean, I have a videotape of, like, somebody filmed it from the back. People, like, were ranting with us back and forth on stage in between songs, and this is, like, before I had ever gotten on stage and started learning how to yuckle, like, how to, like, pick, like, start doing the like comedians can do. I'm not good at that. Like, I was very like, here's my song, here's the next song, here's this. Like, we would not talk. Like, we would just bang through our sets and like you said, let the music do all the talking all the way until the end, and then we'd be like, we've been ad nauseum and you've been quiet, good night, and then we'd leave, and then that would be the end of our set. But that show was like the first one, because we had played a few like little mini shows and stuff here and there. That was the first time I was ever in a major venue on a major stage with like a sound guy, and the first thing I do is walk out and like offend half the crowd and make the other half of the crowd laugh, and they were all looking at me at that moment. You know what I mean? Like, they all turned, and then we banged into our first song, and from that moment on, they never stopped listening. Like, they all sat there and watched me do my whole set, or I should say, the band, because I hate saying now it's just me most of the time, but it worked to some extent that, like, I got their attention long enough for them to put their drinks down and either go, the fuck did that guy just say? Or go, oh, that was funny, I get it. And then all of a sudden, here's like 7 songs really fast, and we didn't talk in between the songs, we just, and then we were off. And like afterwards, people come out like, dude, we really enjoyed yours. Like, people I never constantly were just like, your set was great. Your set was great. We had the shittiest drummer, dude. The shittiest drummer. The guy, even after we met him, even after I changed the songs, even after I like started writing things that we could have, he was very much just like a like he would just do the one beat for every song. Mm-hmm. He'd speed it up a little bit. He'd slow it down a little bit, but that was it. And I hated it. Like, it was just so, but that was my first taste, and it was good. Mm-hmm. And I loved it. And that was where I started going, oh, you can use comedy on stage to get people's attention all of a sudden. Like, people will stop what they're doing. They're either going to throw their drink at you, or they're going to laugh, but they'll be looking at you. You know
I
what
mean, did the aggressive nature of the context of the joke even match your music? Or did you say something that was hard?
My music is laced with dark humor and like, I mean...
Always has been.
I mean, it always has been very much like I'm singing about and writing about things that people would be like... I mean, I wrote a song about a girl. There's a song called 2 Words More Puppets. I don't know if you've ever heard it, but it's jazz. It basically starts going dun 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 do 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 do, like it's all very jazzy based. But I mean, the opening line is like, if you're looking to score with a whore, let me introduce you to this, like person. And like the last line of the song, I basically say, if you think her car's got a lot of miles on it, you should look at her cunt. Like, that's how the song ends. Like, I basically wrote this terrible... I mean, it's a horrible piece of, like... It was about a person that... I don't want to say deserved it, but she was... I mean, she made one of my best friends, like, pay for her boob job, and she was a stripper, and then, like, the minute she got healthy, she, like, ditched him.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like... And I had dated her briefly until I realized she was a stripper, and then I was like... I don't want to have anything to do with that. Sorry, like that's not my...
Interesting.
But but she did that to him, and it pissed me off so much that because I knew her and I loved this guy, and I'll tell you off camera who the guy is later, but and if he's watching, he probably already knows who he is. So but I got pissed and I sat down and I remember jazz band, and I sat there with my buddy Dane, and we sat down, and I was like, dude, I'm going to write this jazz thing. I was like, I want you to write the most epic jazzy bass line behind this. I want it to sound like kick-ass, like 1930s jazz. But I'm going to say the worst things in this song. I'm just warning you. I'm going to basically throw somebody under a bus, and it's going to be terrible. No names, no, like, it's just a straight, you could take it any way you want about who it was about, but, like, and I did it, and then I ended up playing it one night. The funny thing is, later, she came to a show with him, and they were he was trying to get back together, where she was just still using him, and, there was another song I wrote about her that I called Sandy Vagina, which I don't think you've never heard this song. But it was just about, like, it was just a bad song too, but she got more upset about that song because she thought that was the song that was about her than the actual song that was about her, which was even worse. She threatened to kick my ass in the parking lot, and I'm like, go for it. I don't care. It's my music. Like, what are you going to do about it? Like, I didn't put your name in there. You're out here accosting me over a song that nobody in there knew was about you, at this point. Like, you have to know when you date a musician, they're going to write about their experiences with you. Like, it's just inevitable. Like, this whole last album it's about an experience I had. And I ended up making it kind of almost a concept album of my fall from stupidity into madness, into dealing with things in bad ways, and then coming back to my redemption at the end. Like that's kind of what this last EP was all about. And most people will never understand that or take the time to listen to it like that way, or they won't read of course I don't have the lyrics posted, but I think I was kind of clear. And most people are like, I can't understand what you're saying when you sing, and I'm like, yeah, I know, it's hard for me to enunciate sometimes. I'm missing a row of teeth. It's all good. But so I wrote that song, and then that was. And people always, like, to this day, like, do you regret writing that song? I'm like, no, it's for the time. I don't play it anymore. I mean, you write songs and all of a sudden you're just like, well, that was when I was 26, and now I'm 30 something, gone. Like,
So what was the life thing that...
College.
College was...
Chemistry. I was in a chemistry. I took chemistry, and I went to a lab one day. Yeah. Well, you had to take labs. Yeah. It was my second year of college, and we were in OChem, or organic chemistry, for those that you don't know. And So in OChem, you set up experiments that take like 6 hours.
Okay.
I mean, you basically put everything in and you have
Sure.
it stir for like,
Mhm.
in your labs. I mean, I took a lab at night that was like from 6 to 10 o'clock at night.
Mm-hmm.
And so you'd set up your whole thing, get it all running and go, and then it'd be like, okay, go get dinner. Like, you could leave. You didn't have to sit there.
Yeah.
So went down and I got McDonald's that night.
Mhm.
Got myself. You could bring it back, and there was a section off the side of the lab that you could sit and eat and like do stuff in. Well, I ate my food, but then I left my soda sitting on the desk.
Okay.
Well, there's this kid that was kind of a jackass to me and thought he was a prankster in the worst way. I don't fault him because I don't think he understood what he was about to do, but he put some hydrochloric acid into my soda.
What the fuck?
And I drank it, and not only did it like wipe my teeth out, but it fucked up my esophagus, it fucked up my stomach. I have all these health problems nowadays that like I have to be very careful about what I eat. I have to take like pills.
Wow.
Like all my teeth are just.
I mean, did it happen instantaneously or just over time?
Over time.
Just they got eaten.
The
out?
first thing that happened to me was like instant heartburn. Like I remember I didn't realize what had happened. Because it hurt when it was, but you know, when you drink soda, sometimes like the carbonation and stuff gives you like heartburn and like you're like.
I guess, but I can only imagine it's
well,
worse with acid.
He didn't put a lot of it in there, but he put enough of it in there that was like, because it was very watered. It was very watered down.
Oh,
it was not high molar hydrochloric acid. It was very like.
Wow.
But luckily, because if it was high, I would be here today.
You'd be dead, yeah, for sure.
It would have just ate through all of me, and I'd be. And I ended up going to the hospital that night, and they gave me this like Maalox concoction of like all these heartburn medicines and like chalk and stuff.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
And then I felt okay. Like the next day, I felt okay for about like half a year. I felt like
still had teeth, but
then they started just falling out or rotting apart on you, and it was not like no matter what you did, no matter how much you brushed, like it just went to hell really fast. And,
sure.
And then I went to a dentist one day, and he goes, "Dude, you're gonna lose all of your teeth. Like they're all gone, done. Like, wow. What are you gonna do about it? I don't know, but you can hang on to them as long as you can until they hurt." And I did that.
He literally didn't even give you an option. He's like, "Listen, if you're rich,
like,
here's
I
don't know, veneers, or I'm not sure."
Back in the days, no, he was like, we couldn't even do root canal. Like, even if we just went in and like tried to fix the problem, the rest of it will just. They're all damaged to the point of like they're just gonna crumble, like after.
Oh, they don't have. Well, I mean, I guess like dentures or something. Like there wouldn't be.
I had them. I had a top one for a while.
Really?
I hated it. I couldn't sing. You'd be trying to sing, and the thing would come flying out, and like.
Which is interesting because you've been singing at least recreationally up to that point, and then that happened, and you just instantly sort of like adjusted to it and just kind of kept going, or there must have been a period of just like. Oh wow, this feels different.
Working,
like your S's and stuff. There's got to be a lot of really.
I even without I've had to learn how to speak. Especially because you can hear a bit of a lisp when I do certain things.
Yeah, for sure.
And even in my music now, which didn't happen back in the days, like there's certain songs that I sing or certain syllables or consonants that I'm trying to say that don't come out right, and it's not because I'm singing it wrong. It's because I can't do it. I can't bounce it off a tooth, you know what I mean? Like,
do you ever have people to make really negative assumptions about you? Like, you're just like, oh, you're a meth head, and that's where your teeth went. Whatever.
Because I used to be a very skinny kid back then. Like,
I've seen pictures. I'm like, damn.
I was very... Well, I mean, not that I'm, like, huge.
No,
But, like, I mean, I was a $1.35.
Yeah.
I could eat anything, and I was a $1.30. And people were like, you're just a meth head. And I'm like, no, I had this, like, people didn't understand that I had this terrible thing.
I mean, not that I guess it matters, but I mean, was there consequences? Like, did the school, like...
Oh, no. None of that, no.
Because of you? You just didn't bother making a big deal out of it?
I didn't know.
I mean, the hospital had to know details.
See,
they were like,
why? He got expelled.
Oh, so there were. Okay, he was expelled.
No, he got expelled from school.
Got it. Okay.
I didn't think...
That still doesn't seem fair, but okay, good enough.
But I mean, back in those days, I didn't think about a litigious action. Like, I was...
Well, he was just a kid, so were you going to get money out of him? Like, he didn't
was I supposed to sue him and have him fix But nowadays, it's like...
I guess that's true. I guess they could just, like...
But I waited
give you the care you need, and then just he gets the bill. That's his judgment.
And I could have done that, but I didn't. At the time, it wasn't affecting me. It took years down the road before it started getting bad.
Wow.
And then... by the time I was like, oh, hell, like...
So gradual that it just sort of stayed a part of your life experience. It wasn't like you just woke up the next day and...
No, it wasn't like... it was like... It's like watching you go bald, you know? Like, your hair would slowly fall out day after day, you know? Like, all of a sudden you realize, holy shit, I should just shave my head and get it over with. Wow. So I did the same thing with my top teeth. They got so... because they were the ones that took the brunt of it.
Yeah.
I just got to the point where I was like... I went to a doctor or a dentist one day, and I'm like, look... I don't want you to try to fix anything. I just want you to yank them out.
Yeah.
Because they hurt so bad. It was like, I mean, open nerves. And I mean, I couldn't eat. I couldn't drink. That's why I was so skinny all the time. And then my bottom ones are already starting to do the same thing. There's holes in a bunch of the ones on my bottom teeth that are like starting to do the same thing.
For basically the same reason? Like it's just taking longer?
They just took longer because they didn't get the same.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm going to eventually have to yank all them out too, probably.
And is that...
and then at that point, I'm like, I want to put those implants. You know what I mean?
No, I don't.
They have those like new where they drill
screws
into your jaw, and then they put like a...
So it's like a permanent replacement.
The denture I had was like this, right? There was a row of teeth, and it had this huge cup that would stick to the roof of your mouth.
Yeah. That's got to be annoying.
It made everything taste like crap. Because all of a sudden it felt like I lost all my taste, but like everything tasted like shit. You couldn't chew certain things. Yeah. You had to put this like glue in there that made everything taste funny. And then half the time you'd be like if you got angry enough or you tried to like, you go, and then like your teeth would come flying out. It was like... I just made the conscientious point. I said, you know what? I'd rather not deal with that and just be this.
How did you handle all that socially outside of people, making
the same way I handled like bombing out on the highway yesterday? I don't
laugh it off, just whatever. Even like dating and stuff. I mean, was it like...
So, and this is one of the things I love about this woman that I married. So, we met over a stupid dating website, and then she like ghosted
Websites
me.
Work, kids.
I think it was Plenty of Fish. I know.
Of all
well, it wasn't Tinder.
Work, who knows? Yeah, that's the one.
But no, we kind of met through that, but then we were like Instagram friends where we like stalked each other on Instagram. Instagram kids. Instagram. But, and we used to just like leave comments on each other's pictures back and forth. And, then she finally gave me her phone number at one point, and I was like texting her, and she was like the world's biggest Doctor Who fan. I didn't know what the fuck Doctor Who was. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I was like,
I still don't. I mean, the basics. But yeah,
like, I'm like, I'm a Star Trek, Star Wars, like freaking Battlestar Galactica kind of kid. Like I love my sci-fi. Don't get me wrong, but I had zero idea what Doctor Who was. Well, apparently at the time it was like this huge thing in America that had never blown up like that before. And so I like texted her one day, and I'm like, hey, so if I want to get into Doctor Who, where's a good start? Like, what's a good starting point? And she didn't answer me. And she never answered me again. And I thought, well, damn. I guess I should have learned on my own, And then, but we kept internet stalking each other, like, back and forth. And then she was kind of, like, seeing this guy for a little while. And then she stopped. And then one day she was, like, she posted this picture of herself at home around Halloween, and she's like, I'm gonna watch these movies, and I wish I had somebody to watch them with. And so I texted her, I'm like, I'll come watch them with you. Like, and then she didn't, it was like one of those, oh, that's cute kind of comments. And then one day, I figured out that she had that stupid Snapchat app that kids have now, and I had no idea what it was. I downloaded it to my phone. I took a picture of my shoes. I had my cons on, and I snapped a picture of just my shoes, and I sent a little thing that says, I think I have a crush on you, and that was it.
That's adorable.
And then she like instantly was like, what? What? And then like, so we started, like, she instantly sent me her phone number, we started talking, and then it was about the time the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie came out. It was about that time, and I went and she loved the soundtrack.
Yeah.
I went and made her the cassette tape. The legit cassette tape, kids. I
That's
made her
awesome.
the mixtape, and I brought it to her at work and said, "Hey, I made this for you," and it was like awesome mix number 1 or whatever the hell it was called in the movie. And she was like, "Is this legitly the thing?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you take it home and listen to it." And so we did. She was like, after that, we went out on Halloween night for the first time, and we went down to the W in Scottsdale, and they were having this Gotham City night. Where they were like, they had, like, when you went into where they had the valet parking part, they had, like, all the Batmobiles and these, like, Bruce Wayne Lamborghinis and stuff. And you went in and the Joker was DJing and, like...
Oh, fun.
And I went as Doctor Who, because at that point, I in the interim between that happening, I started watching Doctor Who on Netflix, and I was like, cool. So I went in the stupid Doctor Who costume, and then she came dressed... as a Mickey Mouse Clubhouse member. Like, she had the little... she had the shirt and the skirt and the little, like, ears and everything. She had her own, like, little hat that said Cassie on it and everything. I had no... I mean, I wasn't a big Disney, you know... But then we went and hung out, and, like, it was, like, instant, like... Dude, like, 2, you know, neutron stars just into a black hole kind of thing, you know? And, but then, like, shortly after, like, because Halloween, and then NASCAR comes around in November, like, first couple weeks of So I was like, dude, I do this thing every November, or well, 2 weeks I'll be out there too, but it's like, you should come out and hang out. Like, and she's like, well, I gotta work, but I was like, just come hang, because we go out camping, and we sit out there next to the track, and sit around a campfire, play acoustic guitars, and listen to classic rock, tell stupid stories of the days of old, and drink lots and lots and lots of beer. And so I had her come out, and then it was about then she realized I was missing. So she goes, so how long has that been going on with your teeth? And then so I kind of broke down and told her what had happened, and she didn't even bat an eye, and she was just like, well, that sucks. She's like, what do you want to do next? And I'm like, I'm gonna marry this girl right here. I wanted to marry her right then. I mean, I wanted to marry her out at the Gotham, like, when we were hanging out, and she was like, you should be the Joker DJ, and she's like, you're more the Joker than that guy, and like, she got me instantly, and I'm like, yeah, but I'm not the abusive Joker that throws Harley out of the... I'm more of the one that actually truly does love her, and those little moments in between the comics that happen. But
yeah,
so that's what went down with that, and
that's cool.
And she actually was like one of the... She's actually been one of the biggest... Like you were saying, how do I deal with it socially? Her. She's been my biggest rock.
Just kind of a...
Because when people want to ask, because like she's there with me,
in some way,
they'll go to her, and then she'll be like, I wouldn't be with him if he was a meth head, guys. Like, come on. I mean, look at me now. I mean... Beer belly. Yeah, I'm trying to catch up. I'm trying to catch up, like you and I, man. We're about there.
I mean, considering I don't drink, where's this coming from? I don't know. Like, fast food belly, something.
I was telling Cassie the other day before I left, I was looking in the mirror and I go, you know what's funny? The more you stay at home, the more homeless you start looking. It's like, what are you going to do, right? Like... And then I'm sitting here. I was practicing in my car the other night. In fact, I think I was telling you last night.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to wake anybody in the house. I had so many guests here. I'm like, I gotta practice, guys. So I went out and sat in my car in the garage, and I'm sitting there playing. And she comes home like scared the. I was in the middle, like rocking out in the middle of the song, and she's like, bang, bang, bang.
You guys seem like you have a lot of fun. Like
we do. That's
playful couple.
I think like that's one of the keys to a great relationship is that not only can you be like friends that can like we can get up in the morning and I could be doing stuff on here with headphones on and she'll just come sit here and do her own thing. But just being in the room together without even having an interaction is like
that's powerful. Yeah,
like
I like that.
You still feel like you spent some time with them, and then that way later when they get home, you're like, oh, I've missed you today. Like, you know, we didn't really get to talk this morning. But I feel like you have to have conversation. Like, you have to have something to talk about.
Yeah.
And, like, if you don't have anything to talk about, then it's kind of wasteful to just banter, I guess. Like,
Yeah.
we also sit and watch a lot of movies and TV together, though, like, I will get shows and movies for us and then, like, sit on it for days, and then it's like, hey, you got a day off. Guess what I got? You know, and, like, and we'll sit and watch, and we'll, like, pause movies in the middle of things just to rant about things, like, instantly, like, what the fuck? Like, what? How? And most people, that would be annoying, like, because you just want to watch the movie. And sometimes, like, we do annoy each other, like, because we're both so opinionated about our stuff. And I'm just like, hun, I'm just trying to finish this. Quit pausing it. Like, we'll talk about it when it's done. But we always give each other that moment to, like, do that. I also, you know, we give each other the moments to vent about things, like, constantly. Like, she can tell me anything she needs to tell me about. I tell her everything I need to tell her about, like, good or bad. I mean, I don't keep things from her. I think the only times I've ever, like, actually faltered is, like, when I'm like, hey, my friend's gonna come over today, and she's like, how long have you known about this? And I'm like, oh, well, he asked me, like, the other day, I just forgot. And, like, and she's like, well, I don't like to be surprised. Like, that's her big thing. I don't like it to be dropped on me like that. So I'm very much always, like, I mean, I'll even tell her, like, when I was working at her job, and, like, there's all these girls talking to me all day, because I worked in a store full of girls, and, like, they're coming up and talking to me about relationship things. And then I go home and talk to her about it and be like, this is what went on today. And she's like, yeah, I think she appreciates that I'm so candid about it. I'm like, I don't really, like, put anything in my back pocket anymore. Unless it's, like, something I'm trying to genuinely surprise her with, like a present or something.
Oh, yeah.
There's some things I do kind of just go, oh, you didn't see that. It's okay. Then she starts going, wait, but it's so hard because I'm so candid to, like, she can sniff out instantly when, like, she's like, there's something wrong about you today. And I'm like, I know. And it's on purpose. And I promise you it's nothing bad. You know, like, you have to, like, because she's on it with me. And but she also keeps me, I mean, and I'll tell you this too. I mean, she lets me do this. I mean, I have had days where she's been home and she's out there cleaning house and I'm in here making music. And I'm like, at some point because I'm such, like, narrow-minded when it comes to me, I'm like, I want to finish this right now. I'm going to get it at least to the point of it being a demo, and then I'll fine-tune it later. And I have to get all the singing and the guitar playing and all this done. And then I get done and I sit down and I listen to it and I go, good enough for today. And then I get up and I go running out there and I'm like, she's out there I'm like, all right, you go do something else and I'll finish. You know, like, we have to have that shared, like, it's the easiest relationship I've ever had to be in. I mean, it takes work, but it's not work you realize you're doing. Does that make sense? I guess, like, you don't realize you're working because it just comes so easily to, like, do.
Yeah, and that, like, the love or the affection that you have for her is more than enough fuel for you to, like, do whatever it is that you need to do to, like, make her happy or make her comfortable. Like, her remembering to mention things to her because you know it'll bother her if it just gets popped on her later and just...
And that's honestly something we've learned by being like people always think, like, when you meet somebody, like, even her and I, we were such instant, like, but there's still aspects of each other that you have to go, oh, like, I know when Jeremy gets mad and he says he's going to go for a walk, I shouldn't chase him out the door. You know, like, I should just let him go cool off and he'll come back. Like, she knows that now. But when she first met me, she'd be like, running me down in the street, like, what's wrong? You know, I'm like, just...
That's who I am, yeah. I'm going to walk out the door and I'm like, I'm just being dramatic. Come and chase me and come tell me that I'm...
I don't want her...
special. No, that's why you're in a relationship and I'm not, because you don't play games. I'm like a very self-contained human.
I'm going for a walk. I'm going to go think some things through while I go for this walk, and I'll be back in, like, 10 minutes. And then when I come back, we'll be good.
That's smart.
Everything's good. Like, I'm a spitfire, dude. Like, I have a bad temper when I was a kid, and it carried on, and I used to just let everything just blow me out of... I think that's why last night I was glad that you all saw that. I think that's my weapon against my own anger.
Normally, you would have spun out and gotten mad at yourself.
I would have just gotten mad and thrown my guitar down and said, I'm done. I'm going home and I'm out of here. Whereas I was just trying to go, let's see what I can remember. Let's see if I can get through this damn song. Let's see what I can. I mean, that's my weapon now. It's like some of the things and having kids is a huge, like, it changes you so much. And, like, you can't be that angry guy anymore. You have to rein it all in. Your kids are going to do stupid shit. They're going to spill the milk all over the couch, like, and you either get pissed at them and yell at them and make them go hide in their room, or you just go, well, grab some paper towels. Let's try to clean this up, like, sorry, like, don't do that again, but, like, let's see what we can do to make this go away before mom gets home. Kind of like that's where I got to at some point.
Be on the team with them. Don't be coaching the failures of that team by just pointing at them and being like, "Why would you do that?"
Constructive criticism, but also like positive reinforcement of like, it was an accident. Mm-hmm. But let's clean this up and let's try not to let it wasn't a good thing.
Yeah.
But it wasn't necessary. I mean, the universe is full of pitfalls and craziness, and you never know what it's going to give you at any moment. And you can either choose to be angry at it, or you can choose to laugh at it and then learn from it, and then go on to the next day and go, what are you going to do? You can't.
I'm still pretty juvenile. I'm still pretty angry at a lot of the things that exist in my life.
Even when I first met Cassie, I was still getting over stuff. Yeah. I mean, this whole album was like my a cathartic release of all those things. I mean, there were songs on Harley. I think Harley was the other one that there was a couple songs on there. Love Homicide. I actually wrote, like I was telling you last night, where I was sitting there in a Walmart parking lot in frickin' Provo, Utah, when it was January, and watching the freezing fog come in, and it was negative 12 outside, and I'm sleeping in my car. This little Scion XB with a freaking, a little comforter to keep myself warm. And you had to get up every hour and turn the car on and go for a drive on the iced out streets, in the neighborhood, and then come back to the Walmart and park and try to sleep for another hour. And I did that for about 2.5 weeks before I finally sweet talked her mom into letting me have her back. And then once I got her in my car, I'm like, I went home, got a lawyer, got custody, and never looking back after that. I was like, that was it. Like, it was like, that's why there's that line, like, this is the end, this is my last goodbye. We're just a sad case of love homicide. Like, we killed our love. We murdered it. We had this beautiful thing, and then now it's dead. Now I'm going out of here. Mm-hmm. Like Last Call, I wrote it from the point of view of when her mom and I used to fight, and she would be standing right there watching us argue and like be mad at each other, and then we'd like go up into the room, but you could still hear it coming through the walls.
Sure.
And, like, all I could imagine is like all the things that she used to listen to from us, and I just hoped it didn't, because then later in life I met girls that grew up in a very similar situation, and they're all the ones that sit at bars every night and say how lonely they are about stuff. Yet you're surrounded by people, but yet all the people there are all lonely for the same reason. Like, that's that line where I'm like, they're all waiting for the last call, with their best friend's alcohol, sitting in a room full of people that all feel alone. Like, and then, like, I don't know. Like, I grew up in a great household, but I mean, my parents would fight too. I mean, my sister and I, when my parents would fight, we'd like sit in a room together and just go, "Hey, we're gonna do something else," and pretend like nothing's going on. And so it's a little autobiographical. It's a little biographical about other people, and then I tend to embellish. I mean, that's the best way to write songs, but you can't just make it completely. You embellish a little bit. What you're trying to say. I don't try to write very personal songs so much. I try to leave songs vague, I guess. Almost every song comes from something in my heart that I love or hate or am angry about or makes me sad, but I write them lyrically in such ways that I'm trying to leave it vague enough that maybe enough people go, oh yeah, I've felt that way, or I know what you're talking about, but even though it's I could have written it very, very, very personal to me. I try to just not, I guess. I think Self-Medicate is probably one of the most personal songs. And then, of course, Ross helped me write a lot of that song, too. I offered it to him, and then he wrote the whole first verse. And then when he wrote that line, I was like, oh, yeah, dude, I got the rest of this. We're good. I know well, that's the whole... I mean, back in the days, because of the pain in my mouth and the pain in my stomach, I used to smoke a lot of weed a lot. And then I still obviously drink alcohol occasionally, but probably more than I should. But it just kind of numbs a lot of the pains away, because I can't sit and take ibuprofen every, you're just going to kill your liver. Not that this doesn't kill your liver either, but I can do this in more mild doses over a longer span. And so, I mean, that was what that song was about. It was like sitting there. I almost lost Cassie because of my own, like sitting there being like, I'm sick all the time and I don't feel good and I'm in pain constantly. And then it was like, at some point I was like, I realized it wasn't the pain that was getting to me. It was the fact that I smoked all the time. And then I have come to find out that they've been doing research on marijuana smokers, and there's this new thing where, like, if you smoke too much of it, you get this sickness. Every single one of the symptoms was exactly what I was feeling all the time. And as soon as I stopped smoking, they all went away. And I went, that would be it. And I mean, I get friends all the time like, you still want to buy some weed? I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm just going to have a beer. I'm good. I'm good with the beer. I'm good with the whiskey. I'm good. Like,
yeah,
I'm happy now. Like, I think a lot of it has to do with sadness though too. Like, you try to. That's kind of what Self-Medicate is about too, because the song's about a girl leaving the guy because he couldn't get his shit together, and then he basically puts the Band-Aid on every day with medications or whatever you want to take from the medicate part of it. I mean, it can be whatever your vice is.
Yep.
I mean, that was that song. My Only Friend was kind of about, it's about three things, but the first part is about me missing my old bass player, because he and I were like brothers, and then all of a sudden he just up in one day and disappeared and stopped talking to me, and I have no idea why. And then I met him one night at he plays in a funk band now, and I met him at the Yucca Tap Room one night when I happened to be down there and tried to like reconnect with him, and he's like, oh cool. I gave him it was right after I was putting my acoustic stuff out, and he was like, he took the album, and then I still haven't heard back from him that much, so I'm like, but that was like, My Only Friend was like kind of yearning and missing being in a band and like playing. Then it was also about like, My Only Friend is my guitar, because I could come in here anytime I want and like spill my guts to it. And then it's also kind of like, Cassie's kind of like, at the time it was like I had no other friends to hang out with, and she was kind of like gone at work all day, and I'd be sitting at home all day and be like, I'm so bored. I don't know what to do. I'm going to try to write a song. You pick up a guitar and you just not feel anything anymore. And so that kind of spawned out of all those kind of things. I don't always just write about one thing in a song. That's kind of another unique facet, I think, of my songwriting. I draw from a lot of influences. Like, I mean, the Harley song I kind of wrote this song about a bunch of, like, a few different girls that I was hanging out with in between, like, you go through that breakup phase where you've been with somebody for like 7 years, and then you start hanging out with girls, and like each one is like different, and like
no, I don't know what that's like at all.
Well, you kind of like all of a sudden you just get very reckless, and like, I'm just gonna go out and meet all the people I can meet, and then like that was it for me. But then I changed the song from what it was into, I was like, the rhythm and the music's good, but I just was never happy with the lyrics, because I was like, this is stupid. Like, so then I was like, I'm gonna write about Harley Quinn. I'm just gonna write a song for her, and I was like, she'd be on her stupid cartoon. It would be awesome. I do like the cartoon. Song like Alice is just about my like dealing with what goes on in my head, but I wrote it in the point of view of like Alice in Wonderland, kind of like how my head is always barking at me from 6 different ways about 1,000 things. I mean, They Live, I based off of the movie They Live, but I also wrote it about society's like inability to wake up from brainwashing and the televisions and all the crap that's like constantly thrown at you, and like make up your own damn mind, like do your own homework and like figure things out for yourself if you want to. Instead, it's just like, I'm just gonna call you crazy, and because you're a nut because you believe these things, and it's like, no, you're the nut because you watch the television all day, and it's. You ever wonder why they call it television programming, right? Like, what is it programming? Sure as hell ain't the TV. Like,
That word does have two different meanings,
right?
The program.
I mean, think about even like the mainstream news. They're not like, it's not MSNBC News. It's MSNBC News Entertainment, Fox News Entertainment, CNN News Entertainment. What are they entertaining? Like, why? Why isn't it just news? Because nobody's doing news anymore. It's all like they're looking for the next best thing that's going to give them the highest ratings and get paid the most money. It's not helping you. But yet people sit glued to these things all day long. I'm getting all of my info from right here in this box, and like, no. Go out and live a little. Jeez, go for a walk in the woods or something. Like, just get away from, like, unplug. Put your damn phones down and like just go enjoy the world for a minute and just appreciate that it's not raining today. It was beautiful today. Like, I walked outside for a minute. But
this podcast went exactly how I thought it was going to go in the best ways. We covered all the bases that I wanted to. Got some other morsels in there that like I was sort of hoping would kind of, and it was just great. That being said, to like sort of wrap it up.
Do you want to know about ad nauseum though?
We talked about ad nauseum.
No, the real ad nauseum.
The real ad nauseum.
I will cut this down into 15 minutes.
Hit me.
So after my old drummer was the crappy one that played Mason Jar with us, I met this other really fucking bombastic drummer. The guy was like freaking Travis Barker. Not that Travis, but Travis is a really good drummer. And he worshipped the guy. Played just like him, was like perfect posture, had all his drums flat and everything. Bombastic. That's when our band actually took off, was that he came into the band. We ended up, the other drummer, I was like, you're done. You gotta go. You suck. He came into the band. We got a really good practice space down at this like actual band practice space place where you had a code to get in, and then you had your own door and everything. And started writing, which is a lot of the album. I showed you what I called the punk album that I never released. That was a lot of the original Ad Nauseam. We used to start playing at Jughead's and like, what was the Big Fish Pub, whatever Pub Rock used to be back in the days. I don't remember what they used to call that place, but it wasn't the Pub Rock.
I don't remember either.
But it was a different place. Yeah, we played Club Red. We started getting around. And that was about the time where I met Reese and Ryan from Idiot Kid, because Ross wasn't. And so we became good friends with them. Started playing out with them quite often, all the time. Mm-hmm. In fact, there was almost never a weekend where you'd be like, hey, Idiot Kid's playing. Like, is Ad Nauseam playing with them too? Sure. And we would. I loved it, though. Reese became one of, which I used to call back in the day, Reese became my co-opetition in songwriting. He'd write a new Idiot Kid song, and then I'd go, I'm going to try to one-up. Like, I felt like, I don't know if he felt that way, but that's how I was like, oh, dude, they just wrote this really kick-ass song. And then I go back to the band, and that's when I started writing things like the song Planet Jaggers, Forgotten Melody, which I played last night. Like, I started getting into, like, pushing the boundaries instead of just playing Green Day pop rock, kind of. I started going, I want to, like, expand us into rock and roll, or, like, still have our vibe, but, like, play a little harder punk rock, play a little more like jazzy kind of stuff. I started really getting into the Living End like a little bit before that. I was always a big fan of the Stray Cats, so and then I got a Gretsch and like finally had my dream guitar, which somebody pawned on me, and I'm not gonna ever let that die. Anyway, so we started getting notorieties, and then we started getting offers from people like that had record labels, as I used to call them, and they would be like, hey, we want you to sign with us, and we'll put your, you can come and record an album and stuff, but they wanted us to put like 10 grand up front to like cover all the bases, and they're like, well, if your album doesn't sell, at least you paid for it all. And I'm like, fuck has 10 grand as a little, we play Thursday nights at, Jughead. We I don't know, did you ever get to see Jughead's? Mm-hmm. You remember the nights where there would be like 2 shows booked at once? Mm-hmm. You probably never got to play there then, right?
Probably not, but maybe once. Okay. For like
it happened quite
15
often.
15 minutes at something like real small.
Sid, I love Sid to death. Sid was one of my favorite people in all of Arizona, and I was really sad when he passed away. But he used to keep a book, and he would be like, you go in and go, hey, I want to book a show. I'm going to pull 4 bands. We're going to, and he'd give you a date and he'd write you down. Well, then, like, somebody else would come in and be like, hey, I want to book a show. Well, if Sid wasn't there, or, like, you'd have somebody else all of a sudden, like, jot down other bands in another calendar.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so you both think you had, and then you would both show up to this show at night, and there's 4 bands and 4 bands, and all of a sudden your 40-minute set went to 15.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you didn't even want to play, and then it was like, you just went home. But it was like, because I lived out here in the West Valley, it was always like, well, shit, I'll take my 15 minutes. But it was like, by the time you loaded everything in and plugged in and got ready to go, you got to play 3 songs. And it was like, it was so dumb. But I miss Jugheads, though. I would have run it way better. But anyway, so we got really big, and then record labels came around, and Dane and I actually sat down and were like, looking at what they were asking us to do, and it was always like a big no, like, we could just do this ourselves, like, why do I need your distribution? We can sell our CDs at shows. And I was very much in the Green Day 90s vibe of like selling your own records out of your van while you played shows kind of thing. And so I said no to the devil more than once, and I'm pretty sure I've met the devil 3 times, one of them being a woman once. So the 3rd time it got me, but I never sold my soul. Anyway, but so that was it. And then we kind of got really big. And then our drummer used to front. He still fronts the band, I think. But he was a singer guitar player in his own band, and it was called Good with the Grenades. And he was like trying to mimic what Fall Out Boy was doing, like all that dancey kind of punk rock but with the dance vibe thing. And eventually he just put more focus into that than come into play. But he always was like, dude, I love playing drums with you guys because I just get to play drums and I don't have to worry about songwriting or. But like you were saying earlier, though, the big thing for me was that we all did our own parts. I would just show up to the band practice with a little bit of a guitar and a vocal melody. I'd let the drummer write his own thing. I'd let the bass player write his own thing. We were a 3-piece band, and then you would come in with this idea of a song and play it for the drummer, and the drummer would come up with like a beat that was totally out of left field from where you were going with the song, but then you'd be like, oh, this is even better. Like, you get that vibe that you can't get when you're sitting around by yourself doing, like, that's why I wanted to tie all this back to that point, is now that I'm by myself, I miss a lot of that, which is why I still have somebody else do the drums for me, because sometimes you send them a little demo and then they come back with a drum beat, and I mean, even if it's just GarageBand or whatever, it puts the foundation of the song down for you that you I can't do this out of my head with it. So then I can play with all these around that. I can mess with this and go around that from there. So that's what. And then I moved to Utah, and then everything went to hell. I used to play in a band called The Itch too. Dane and I played, and I love The Itch. I don't know if you ever saw The Itch, but oh man, it was like 60s garage rocky surf kind of rock kind of. We got pretty big too. We were, because Ad Nauseam had fallen apart. Dane and I were both in The Itch, and I loved that band to death. And then my relationship took me away from Phoenix, and I've actually tried to meet up with that guy a few times and go, hey, whatever happened to The Itch? Why don't we get it? Like, I know where Dane is. Here's me. Here's you. What happened to the drummer? Like, why don't we just throw it back together for fun? Like, I mean, shoot, we were getting a huge following by the time I left. And then, I regret moving to Utah. That's a big thing out of my life. So Utah, came back. Life went to hell. Got my daughter back. Life was still in hell. Had to, rebuild. Come back together. Met the girl of my dreams. Have my own studio. Make my own music. Produce okay songs. And there. Now you can end the podcast, Adam. I will let it. That's the end of it.
With the 3, the big 3 here. So we got Laughing Gas and Hand Grenades.
Old music.
Which was the first EP released under Actual Psychic Violence. And then we've got, the Harlequin Incident.
Yep.
And then we've got Jezebel.
Right.
All 3. I was going to say related, and I'm like, well, I mean, they're
kind of. Most of the songs on this one I wrote 10 plus years ago, maybe at the end of Ad Nauseum, there were songs in here that kind of catered between that, and then new songs I wrote when I first met Cassie.
Yeah.
Everything on this album is brand new.
Got it. And there's more coming. You got all sorts of stuff in
the next
pipeline,
album,
and it's gonna be good.
Nobody's
stuff.
gonna like the next one because it's gonna piss everybody off. It's
Actual
not gonna
psychic
sound
violence,
like any of these.
exactly like it sounds. You can find those 3 in all the fun places.
Right.
It's just been fun, like meeting you and getting to know you in the scene, and
I love this guy to death. Are you kidding?
A small
He's one of my
hand in
favorite
helping
people.
these things get out into like the public, and
I appreciate that too.
I imagine we're just gonna keep playing our little bitchin' shows.
Hell yeah,
all
dude.
the time for years to come.
Are you kidding? Even if I got a full-on band, I still have you come out and play acoustically to open the show. I love your stuff, man. I can sit and listen to you play all day. Like,
thanks,
I don't care what other people think. I actually genuinely enjoy your music. Especially when you came to sing, and I actually got to listen to your songs. Like you had all the vocal tracks, and I sat there and listened. And then I listened to the finished product later. I didn't show Cassie. I showed her like 2 of the songs you did, and then because I didn't want to spoil it for her, and then you released it, and I was like, "Come here and sit down and listen to this." Like, holy cow! And like, no, it's in my playlist every day that I sit and listen to in my car when I drive. So
thanks, man.
I mean, it's on random, but
it's enjoyed.
I gotta get Aquarius though. I don't have Aquarius. I have to get it.
Aquarius, yeah.
I do.
It's out there
because I didn't know it existed until you played that song the last time and I went, oh yeah, he has that whole other
thing and the EP before it.
Right. I'm like, I have to go and
the Owls and Chains cover on that. There's all sorts of stuff.
I'm gonna go purchase that thing. Well, I did buy the
Panic.
The Panic album, because I wanted the legit one. And you don't make CDs, so
never gonna.
That's all right.
The market doesn't like that.
I think I've learned my lesson after 3 EPs. Nobody wants a CD.
Not happening.
So I'm with you on that.
Well, thanks, bro. Thanks for being a part of the podcast.
You're very welcome, Adam. Have a. No, I'll see you Thursday.
Hell yeah, you will.
Thursday.
Woo!
Well, whenever you put this on, 2 weeks from now, people are gonna be like.